Yeah.
All right, it's good. It didn't. I swear to God, every time I talk, every time I decide not to tell the people that are on the show, it does it. I don't know. It's Skype's trying to troll me, I guess. All right. Anyway, there's probably like 30 shows of me talking about that right before the intro. All right, show in five, four, three, two, one. Coming to you from the dark recesses of the proverbial Dawn Forge pouch. This is episode 203 of the Shattered Soulstone Development Hell number 4. Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download at bit.ly/soulstone 2019. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPod, MP3 player, or Realme phone. Today is March 24th, 2019. This is your main man, Dead Greed. Today I got like 2 or possibly 3 of like my second favorite type people. First of all, we got returning to you from the land of the Division Agency and some Diablo 2 nonsense. It's Shazam!
What's going on?
Also, we got a rock star in the house. If you heard our episode titled Development Hell number 4, we have the author of Development Hell number 4 himself, Dreadscythe.
Woo! Hey. Good to be here.
Also joining us possibly later, stuck in California epic traffic, we're going to have Rona.
The Invisible Man.
Yeah, he'll be here later, possibly. So anyway, it has been a week. I was on the vacation. That's why y'all didn't have me last week's show. But again, internet high fives go out to the Shazam and Vespeterio for a great show last week without the greed. I didn't know y'all could do one without greed, so nice. Nice. But Shazam, man, I want to get into the weeks in gaming quick, and then I want to get into this document because this thing is epic. So Shazam, how was your week, man? What'd you do?
I played The Division on PC and PlayStation because I had to buy it on PlayStation because nobody plays with me on either. I realized that after I bought it on PlayStation. And then I decided to try out the Median XL version of Diablo 2, which I find that to be a pretty darn good version of Diablo 2. Other than I created a necromancer with one thing to make a whole bunch of skeletons and stuff. And I realized that they took out the skeleton mob, minions, and they replaced them basically with witch doctor minions, being the
fetishes?
Yeah, the little fetishes and the gargantuans and stuff, which I find that to be pretty weird, but they added like 30 new skills to every class and new engine, a whole bunch of end game. They added like 51 character levels and stuff like that, so they did a pretty darn good job at it, other than they need to add shared stash, but other than that, it's pretty darn good. I can't complain.
Nice.
Played Diablo 3 in the weekend a little bit, not very much. I almost tied my season high from last season. I'm one away.
Yeah, you're right there, man. You're crushing it, brother.
Yeah, I don't feel like playing for the last month with back pain, and then after that, just not feel like playing. I'm still doing all right compared to not playing for a month. Other than that,
I was gonna say, man, is your back like epically better? Maybe. No. Did you not hear me? Okay. Anyway,
Oh
hopefully
yeah,
it's better.
sorry. It's back to normal.
Good, man. I'm super happy about that, but I know you threw your back out carrying the greed on that show, and it was it was bad, bro. It was bad. Well, good, man. I'm glad, man. You know, it's everybody takes their health for granted, man. And then when you injure yourself, like, you know, I injured my foot, and man, whoo, it's still ridiculous. But you know, when you injure your back or something like that, then it's like a wake up call. Man, maybe I should be taking better care of myself a little bit, you know? Because man, it ain't fun to be sick or be injured. That's for sure. Well, anyway, back into weeks in gaming. I'll go with Dreadscythe, man. What you been up to, man?
Uh, Weeks in gaming is slipping into last minute baby prepping. Because there's only about a week or two left. But didn't really get a chance to play so much the last week. Even though I really wanted to, and I really want to get to 1400. It wouldn't be my highest Paragon, but with all the season buffs and everything, I've already gotten a 114 down on my Wiz. I think with the setup, because I did a setup change, because I'm just doing Meteor Shower, Tals, Channeling. I'm not doing any kind of Star Pack variant. I could probably do 115 currently, and I really want to do that, because that would be the highest I've ever done. Paragon, like I said, is only 1200. The augments are only around 100 to 106. So but the gear is really good. I have 3 primals, and for a Tal's Wizard, it's the Death Wish, the Ashnagars, and the Convention. So those are 3 very good primals to have, because it basically maxes out like your damage and defensive ability, like right there. Everything else is really close. So yeah, just getting the 114 down, that's my highest ever. And just rolling with it, just trying to get that 115 before I hear the wah.
yeah, it's good. I'll cut down on your gaming a little bit, brother.
Yeah,
That's what it is.
But you know what? I went in. I say my brothers in arms. Basically the guys that I always start a season with for like the last couple of years at this point. We've always started the season together, and we've always tended to group up and play together throughout the season, however long or short that lasts, depending on the season. It's like we went into this and we all knew, like, this is my last season. I have to go broke. I'm gonna play Wizard. I'm gonna do the Tals. Just get me my 6-piece, and then I'll carry. So I felt bad the first couple of days because I was using Veers, I was farming, and then like I got all my Tals. I'm like, oh, I can carry now. Easy hundreds. Let's go. So, but that's pretty much been it for the last couple of weeks. Just get in, grind the Paragon. We'll get into that whole discussion a bit about Paragon, along with a lot of other things, so we won't waste time now. But yeah, that's pretty much been it. Grind.
And as far as me, like I said, I was on vacation with Houston. Had a good time. Really went to Houston for, my wife's German, and so I had to get her stuff taken care of, visa and passport stuff. And then so while we were there, we had a little fun. I went to a Tesla store. Oh my God! If you thought I loved them cars before when I just seen pictures of them, Jesus Christ, those cars are awesome. I mean, look, I know it's electric, all that, blah blah blah, but my God, that is a super nice. I didn't like the X until I sat in it. Because I always thought, them doors that came up from the side, like some dang DeLorean or something. And I'm like, I never really liked those, like seeing them on TV or something, or because I've never seen one in person because they're $130,000. So, that's the price of a dang house. So it's not like there's not hundreds of them running around. But going to the Tesla store and actually seeing it, like, Jesus. First of all, dang. I mean, dang, them cars are, they are sick. I decided that I like the S much better than the X. And, well, that's kind of weird for me because I'm more of a trucker SUV type person. So that was kind of weird. As far as gaming goes, I grabbed like a Barbarian and leveled that, doing a little leap quake action, and I've hit like 106 on 2 characters now. I'm still on both the wizard. I said wizard. I don't know why. I don't play wizard. The witch doctor. I'm still on the witch doctor leaderboard, and I'm still on the crusader leaderboard for both of my 10. And for some reason, they're both 106s. So I smashed 106 with both of those, and yeah. Anyway, and working on my barbarian, got some gear, and I've been. I think I rolled. I want to say more than 100,000 blood shards on the shield, and when was it? Saturday morning I was playing, and I was just clicking the little button, click, click, click. You know how you go over to Kadala and you just. I wait till I have about 750 blood shards so you can fill an entire stash, your entire inventory with shields. And I was just over there, click, 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 click. And I wasn't even looking at the shield. I was just clicking the button. And then I went to the blacksmith and dumped all the yellows and blues. And I looked over and I was like, oh, there was actual Accurate's Awakening. And then I moused over it and I was like, oh, snap. It's freaking ancient. And it's rolled just like I need it to be. Wow. So now the only thing I need is bracers on my Crusader. Man, I think that's the hardest I've ever had to farm for a piece. Because I usually, you know how you do it. You run, you get some shards, you spend some shards, you run some more, you spend some shards. Maybe you convert an item, or you get some yellows and try to, make them try to upgrade them. But I had horrible luck trying to get that shield, and it just, for some reason, she was not wanting to give it to me. And finally, she was just like, hey, I see you rolled a barbarian. Here's a shield. So I think the way to get the shield was roll the barbarian. And then she was like, hey, since you're playing the barbarian now, here's a shield for your Crusader.
You quit that class. Here, go back to it.
Yeah. So I got back on the Crusader a little bit. I've been playing that. Just got up to 106, which is fine. I'm like 11K Paragon, around that area. I'm almost 12. It's fine. I'm having fun. It's just been. We were like full clip, and then they announced that the season was going to be an extra 2 months long, and it kind of took a little bit of the wind out of our sails. Everybody kind of split and started playing like Dawn of Man and Division 2 and that other game, Exiles and PlayStation and Jesus, and so it's kind of been a thing. But yeah, I'm not mad about the season extension, because I think that it means that season 17 is going to be good. I mean, I don't know what the new theme's going to be, and we talked about that a lot on this show. And I don't know if you yourself, Dreadscythe, has put any thought into that season themes type. But man, I really hope this season themes are, because we did a whole long segment on like what we thought season themes could be. Like we had one of our fan favorites was like we called it the Season of the Wanderer, which you get a Traveler's Pledge and Compass Rose buff, playing off of the other. There was another one called people. Some of the community members came up with like Season of the Hell, where you get like a you get the buff from the necklace. But we had a bunch of we had a long list of like maybe 10 or 12 different ideas that either we or the community came up with. It was like we had a fun little segment, and not saying that Blizzard's going to listen to what we have to say, or I'm just hoping that because for us or for me for the show, what I was saying was like the first 2 seasons were like Season of the Greed, best name ever. Which was like, double treasure goblins, and then the next season was Season of the Herodrum, worst theme ever, double bags from Tyrael when you do a bounty. Those were like one direction, I thought, and then they went to Season of the Grandeur, which is what we're doing now, and that's like, you get a free Ring of Royal Grandeur buff, and I thought that was like in a different direction. You know what I mean? Because the first 2 were like things that had already been done, like double goblins, double bags. We were like trying to figure out when at that point before Season of the Grandeur came out, we were trying to figure out like where are they going with these themes? Like we got double goblins, we got double bags. What are they gonna do? Double XP, double gold? Like it seemed like it was an idea. But we, at that point, members of the show and members of the community couldn't come up with like, what else can they double? Like, goblins, gear, when they do double gear, that'll run the season, like we couldn't figure out like what double gold. Nobody cares about gold anyway. And then they came out with the Ring of Royal Grandeur, and it like spun us up into like this new direction of like, oh, so we started looking at things that in the game that they actually could do, like Ring of Royal Grandeur, Traveler's Pledge, the Hellfire Necklace, just like maybe a free esoteric or something. Anyway, we talked about it a lot on one of the other shows, and it was I had fun with it, and then I ran across this document. So people started talking about this document. It's called the Development Hell number 4. Right? Yeah. Anyway, first of all, a couple things I wanted to say before we even get into this is one, this isn't from like Blizzard or anything. This is just from the community. This is a community-based thing. And this is not like this is going to be set in stone and this is what's going to happen or anything like that. These are just ideas. And I wanted to say, my God, sir, wow, this is, first of all, I was blown away because they were talking about the document, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll check that out. And I looked at it and I thought, Jesus, freaking, wow, what the heck? Because I thought it was just going to be like a write-up. You know what I mean? Because I thought it was going to be like,
a bullet point outline, forum post.
This is, first of all, I wanted to, just give you the internet high five because, my God, brother, this thing is, the reason why I wanted to bring you on the show is because, man, this thing is awesome. And I thought that, for our audience, like just go over it. We ain't got to go word for word over anything. But I just wanted to say, man.
All 16,500 of them?
Yeah. I just wanted to say that whether you agree with some of the ideas, maybe you think, oh, this idea is great, or this idea is horrible, my God, they can't do that, or Jesus, I never thought of that, or, no matter what you think, the amount of work you put into that, dang, I just wanted to say, wow, I was blown away, man, for real.
Thank you. No, it's appreciated, and I mean, I remember that I started last December 6th. That's when the creation date was started. And I don't know when the Twitter, because for those who don't know, I got to a point where, all right, I think I'm at a point where I can actually continue this. Because like the very beginning was doing that preface. I did the preface, and then I just built a table of areas I wanted to hit. and it was originally 5 or 6 chapters, because there's chapters and then there's some sections for each one of those, and the sections are kind of like could be like are just like can be huge things by themselves. But then like I started thinking like, no, I have to approach this not as my little pet project. Let me outreach to some of the other streamers. Let me outreach just to a couple of my buddies and see like what would they like to see change. The entire stash section idea came from everybody else. I wasn't gonna touch the stash, but I asked, okay, what would you like to see in the stash? I'm like, let me put my brain to it and let me see if I can do it. So that was one example of an unintended section of a chapter that wasn't originally there, and then was there actually more that could have been put in there? Maybe. But I wanted the document itself to be cohesive with itself, and I didn't want it to seem like it was going off on like 1,000 different tangents. I wanted it to be good by itself.
Before we get into a whole bunch of this, could you just give us like because you know we got a lot of listeners that one probably don't watch us on YouTube or live on Twitch. Mm-hmm. They just maybe iTunes or whatever the non-real man phone uses to podcast. We got a lot of people that just listen. So just give us a like an overview of what this is, what is it about, and just like kind of like just a small overview type thing.
Okay, I'll take that as a challenge. No, it's actually really easy. I usually don't try to start out with this. In fact, if you see the intro video I did, I kind of say it and then I immediately move past it because I try not to tout myself, waving my hands, all New Yorker style. But I got started with Diablo 3 when it was right before it hit Friends and Family Alpha. I was inspired by Sixen of the now archived Diablo fans, womp womp, and Sixen's podcast with Force Gaming, if you happen to remember who that is. Because I started with StarCraft, moved into WoW, and Diablo was going to be my new home for a while. I wanted it to be my home, but I wanted it to have a community. I wanted to have new friends. I wanted to have a fresh outlook on this new game. So I created 3 different websites. I had a sponsored Ventrilo for the launch night of beta that was 300 slots, had it filled with 20 guilds that we were supporting for free on the damn thing, because if we were getting charged for it, why were we going to charge them? And it was a ball, and I met so many people from that time. A few of them I talk to today, or at least still follow them on Twitter, still see how they're doing, they still see how I'm doing. Acquaintances, friendly acquaintances. But this document is kind of a summation of all those different perspectives, all those different viewpoints, because as I've gotten older and I think hopefully wiser, I've tried to expand my perspective on things. And whether it's life or a game, you have to do that. So with everything that happened last BlizzCon and how we were all individually, I don't want to use the big term mourning what happened at BlizzCon, even though mourning, I guess, feels more appropriate than not. I'm like, no, I want to do something constructive, and this is kind of the end result. I wanted to do something that was constructive, that injected a sense of critical thinking to the max, make it a picture book, because I have to admit it needs a lot of pictures so people can actually understand that what these are in concept and also reality, and give it also a basis like this may be feasible. And last but not least, Blizzard quality dictates more or less nowadays that by the time we see beta, the game could be released. That is Blizzard quality in a nutshell. So by the time we see Diablo 4 in a beta phase, it is too late for almost any idea to get implemented, because the game is at a point where any system that's introduced would actually set them back. They would have to go back, shoehorn something in, and it wouldn't be as good. I mean, look at the Real Money Auction House. It didn't come out until a month after the initial game released. I don't know how many people actually remember that, because they were still tooling with it because they didn't get enough proper testing during beta. How could they test it during beta with real money? It was such a foreign concept. So that's what this thing is. It's trying to introduce critical thinking for the community, trying to get ideas out there now to foster better ideas, quite frankly. And if there are better ideas, try to actually get them implemented into the game now while they're still in that secretive, we don't know what they're doing phase with the game. So that's what the purpose was, those three things.
Nice. Well, one thing I want to say real quick, for people who are listening, if you'll go to our Discord, there is a link to this document. Just in case, like, you want to look at the document while we're talking about it, there's a link in our community section of our Discord, and we can probably put a new link in because it's going to be back a little ways. You'll have to scroll up quite a ways now because it was maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago when we first put it in there. But we can get a new link just so people can. Just so people can like see, because the amount of work and the amount of quality that's in this document, it really deserves as many people as possible to be reading and looking at this thing. And like I said, whether you agree with some of these ideas, maybe or whatever, that doesn't matter, because starting the conversation is the important proportion.
Definitely.
This ain't exactly something that's like, oh, 100%. This has got to be exactly this way. It's just getting the conversation going, which is awesome. So with that said, I wanted to dive in to. I had like a little. Now I'm kind of.
Is this where I say, challenge me, bring it on, internet?
Yeah. First of all, man. This isn't like one idea or 10 ideas. This is a lot of ideas. Some of it, like I'm reading through the document, and I'll let Shazam get in on some of this too, because I know he read it, and I'm sure when Rona gets here, he'll do the same thing. But one of the big things that I really, really agree with is environmental and monsters. These days, like you get in the game, you start playing, and like example on my Whirlwind Barb, I hold down my little button, and my guy starts, he starts spinning, and I'm just clipping through enemies or whatever. My Crusader, I literally, and everybody that plays with me knows, if I'm on my Crusader, I do not kill trash. I don't care if it's white. I don't care. Mm-hmm. I run straight through it. I blaze on my horse and run straight to an elite, kill the elite, and as soon as the elite's dead, I pick the balls up. If it's a yellow, I don't even kill the yellow minions that's with it. I only kill the one dude, get on my horse, and run to the next elite. It's so... You're saying here, like, we should fear the world, like, the environment, the monsters. It's, to me, the monsters that are in the game now, like, for example, on my Crusader, it's a hindrance. It's almost like a roadblock. Mm-hmm. Like, they body block me because I don't have my boots, because I have to have my setup. I don't have the boots, the illusionary boots on that particular build. So I get body blocked, or, you can get on your horse and go through, but your horse is sometimes on cooldown. To me, the monsters is just a complete, I don't even want to pay attention to them. I only want to run to the elites, kill the elites, get the balls, push my progression, get to the Rift Guardian, kill him, pick up my loot, close the rift, upgrade my keys, close the rift, and start a new one so that I can get more Paragon points, right? And to me, when I first started playing Diablo, I thought it was so cool because, like, the chandeliers come down and they hit, you can kill monsters with it. Not really, but yeah, or
well,
like the walls.
Back in beta days, that was awesome.
Yeah, back in the the walls, they fall down, or like when I first started, like I try to like put a trap down and like try to kite the guy into the trap and then have the wall hit him. But now I don't care about any of that at all. I just want to blaze through, get done. I'm on Discord talking to my friends, and most of the times, the only time we ever talk about monsters is like when there's hell witches and there's big balls, because I try to group a large set of hell witches and have the balls hit Ritzy in the face, one of my great buddies. And that's the only time I care about anything environmental or any monster. So when I read your part on titled Environment and Monsters, we should fear the world, that really hit home for me, because it's like I literally do not care. The only thing I want is a good mob type. I want a good map, and I want to run to the elites. And that's so. For me, when I was reading that, I was like, because you're talking in here like, there's those what are those things called with the big things that they come across and they try to cut you, and or spikes that come up out of the floor. Yeah, the blades.
The whole I'm gonna say it wrong. The ruins of
Shattered.
Yeah. And how they were touted. Because I remember being at BlizzCon when they were showing off the traps. I'm like, oh, okay, those are good. And then you go in, it's like, okay, they hit me, and okay, ow. I mean, there was like one time I got hit by him and I procced. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I should take these more seriously. But it's like, just like the viewpoint of the whole section. I feel that section, I came the closest to agreeing with the sentiment of the community, because the sentiment of the community was like, it's not dark enough, it's not bloody enough, it's not gory enough. But also at the same time, as I said in the document, it's like that I hear people saying those almost like taglines. But okay, fine, go the step further, explain that. It's like, do you want rivers of blood everywhere? Do you want dead corpses everywhere? Do you want every enemy to explode into a 1,000-pounder explosion type deal? I mean, if you're gonna have that, unless you're of the mind that can enjoy that day in, day out for years and years and years with no changes, it's gonna get boring. It's gonna get tiring. You're just gonna get used to it. That happens with any game, and I think to some respects, because I've been watching Riker play the Diablo 1 mod, and I'm looking and playing, I'm like, I want to play this. And then I realized why I want to play it. And I realized also another reason why so many other people like it. It's a solo D&D adventure. Everything about it is D&D. It's like he was playing like the spell books, the gold costs, like everything. It's not that it's punishing. It's that if you don't do it right, you're going to get punished for not doing it right. And that's D&D to a T, more or less. So when I see people complaining, it's like, all right, why not just make the monsters actually be something you fear? Why not make the environment more involved in your decision making? Why not make monsters interact with each other more? So you have to develop this sense of kill priority, where it's like, oh wait, there's that one. Okay, let me go after. Wait, no, there's this other one. If I don't mess around with, he's going to interact and do something to me, or he's going to do something with the other mobs, and it's going to be 10 times worse. So I have to try to kill this one first, then kill this one, then I can go after the rest of the trash. So that was the nutshell of that whole of that environmental part. And I think that's the closest I came to agreeing with the sentiment of the community, up until the point of I've never heard anyone actually explain what bloody means, what dark means, what gothic means, and let alone multiple people giving me a similar description. And that's just being objective.
Well, for me, we get player power, and then at some point, your player power surpasses like the environmental thing, which is a thing, right? Because they're not gonna. Would it be a thing to keep scaling the wall fall damage? You know what I mean? Like, if you're at a lower level, it does like 2,000 damage or something, and then at a higher level, it does 200,000 damage. So that you actually pay attention to it. And even if they did do that, right? Like, you would just learn to like go around it or like stop it. When those blades come past you stop and then you go, and then you stop and then you go. That's kind of a thing. I guess after a while you would kind of get used to it. But to me, it's kind of a sad thing that they put so much art assets, they put so much time into designing all the enemies, all the the wall fall animation, all this stuff, and then we just turn our whirlwind on and burn right past it. It's kind of like to me, it's kind of a sad thing. It's like, man. I guess it is what it is. Like at the first of the game, like I was saying, I'd put traps down, I'd try to kite enemies down, you're always looking at all the art. Like, I remember the first time I ever went to the vault, especially, my name's Greed, so first time you ever go to the vault, there's treasure goblins everywhere, and it's just, there's stacks of gold, and it was awesome. Now I go to the vault and I just want to blaze through it, and I don't know. So I guess you get used to that kind of thing, like you're saying, but it's like, man, I liked some of the suggestions you had, like the Burning Guardians, and that some of that stuff was kind of cool, like. And again, that's just I don't know, if they had it or whatever, it's something you would. I think it's something that you would get used to, like you're saying, like you start the game out and you're like, oh, wow, this is, woo, this is awesome, blah, blah, blah. But could they do more? I don't know. The game is awesome, and I think the game still looks beautiful, and this is a game that's, how old is D3 now? 5, 6, is it 5 or 6 years?
I think it's 7 this May.
Is it that long? Anyway, D3, it's an older game, and I think that it still looks great. And I still transmog my characters up, and I still dye my equipment and all that. So, I'm still getting use out of it. That's for sure. So it's not like it's just this ugly thing that I hate, but it's just, I don't know. I think they could have done more with the environment, maybe.
Yeah. I'm gonna suck up all the time if Shazam has comments or quit.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know, Shazam. What do you think, brother?
I got really nothing to add to anything above that on the monsters anyway. Other than some builds you don't kill trash, and other builds you have to kill trash or it kills you.
Yeah. I was gonna say me and Shazam have opposite. We play together a lot, which is ridiculously funny. But we have opposite. Like, I would just want to blaze through and kill elites. He wants to kill every enemy ever. So it's kind of a funny thing, but
it's that whole full clear mentality.
It's the multi-shot. If anything gets close to you, you're dead mentality.
Yeah, there is that too.
Yeah. I guess, depending on your character, depending on your class, depending on your build, right? I guess all that stuff kind of changes from time to time. One thing, or the next thing I wanted to talk about was your idea for player housing. Light us up on that. Tell us about it.
that was something. That was an idea I had. Now, when I say I say like, yeah, I had it. Like a lot of people had it, so it's not unique to me. But it was something I was thinking about before Reaper of Souls came out, and it originally came, and the core idea was, okay, Kain is dead, but he still has his hovel in New Tristram. It's unoccupied. What if we, the player, took on his hovel, and so we could, we could put in trophies to show him off. We could put statues of Diablo or anything like that in there to show off our accomplishments. People could come in similar to garrisons and Mr. Warlords of Draenor through grouping, simple stuff like that. Leave out the Warlords of Draenor garrison. That's a whole nother topic for a whole nother discussion. But the idea of being able to invite people in, show off your accomplishments, have something physical in the freaking world, along with other things that relate to other sections in the document, that it shows that the game is truly celebrating you, the player, and your accomplishments in a physical, tangible way, other than someone needing to care to actively check the leaderboards to see who is number one and know it's you, without you having to project that. Because if I was ranked number one wizard, I'm on the bet. Unless I advertise it, no one would know, because there's no way for me to physically in the game represent I am the number one badass wizard last season on the leaderboards. So the game right now does not celebrate people who want to be competitive in any way, shape, or form. And that's probably one of the biggest things when you look back over the game as a whole. There are just, some of them are covered in other parts of the document, that the game just kind of does halfway. It never goes the full Monty, so to speak.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the part. So that's why I wanted player housing to be a thing, because it would be personal. It would tie you to the environment. It would, and it would also give you a sense of belonging. And in some ways, it would incentivize you to keep coming back and playing, because there could be more things to show off. That hook, that incentivizing. And yes, that is the business PR marketing coming up. But you know what? You have to appreciate all sides of things to get these ideas. And some of these ideas were kind of bartered from that. It's just like people will want to rip my head off for it sometimes, but it's like, look, we have to be realistic. And at the end of the day, these ideas that we give to them, if they implement them, are at the will and mercy of the powers that be. And that's what we have to accept.
One thing that came to mind when you were just talking about that is, I look at the leaderboard a lot for several reasons. My biggest reason I look at the leaderboard is because, maybe I'm playing a Crusader, so I look at the Crusader leaderboard to see what is the best, like 5 or 10 people. What are they running? Are they running these shoulders, or what kind of set? What kind of Crusader are they running? They running that Thorns Crusader right now. Right now we only run 5 pieces of our gear. So what piece did they take off? Did they take their boots off? Did they take their shoulders off? Did they take the whatever? And just kind of, I use the leaderboards like that, and I kind of know who's in the top 5 area, just for me. But I couldn't tell you who's in the top 5 from last season, even though I did it last season or the season before that or season 10 or you could have like a statue like me. I'm on leaderboard this season. I was on the leaderboard last season before, but nobody knows that stuff. And like in my house, I could have like number 4. I think I hit 3 in the low 300s last season. So nobody knows I was under, I was in the top 300 or top 400, I guess you could say, right? Because it was 3 something, like 320, 318, whatever. But you could have maybe a little statue of a crusader or a witch doctor that has like a number on it that says like 315 at the end of the season, and you could, or number 1 or 5 or whatever, right? And you could have like something you could put in there, and it could say like season 12 on it or whatever the number is.
Yeah, that's
and
what
you could display that.
Yeah, that's what the whole statue.
So I like that idea.
Yeah, the trophy closet. That's what the whole idea was. Like, it would be the armor. It would naturally be, okay, I want to show off, like you said, I want to show off my 324 rank, because for me personally, that was my best, and I want to show that off. Like, it doesn't matter if it's not top 100 or top 10 or the first. Like, for me, that is my best, and it's still top 1,000 of the entire North America region. That still matters. So that's where the trophy case came in. It was like it was gonna be the armor transmog the way you had it inside the case with the trophy on top, and it was gonna be colored to the rank that you had, and the trophy was gonna be after the theme of that season. That's why everything in the document was themed Roderick style, because that's what the theme was at the time. I wanted it to be relatable. And when you hovered over it, exactly how you say, it would say, Crusader, leaderboard, softcore, rank 324. And it would be something that would be, you invite someone in and they hover over it, like, oh, cool, you got rank 300. I didn't know you did that. It's something that it allows for showing off accomplishments that otherwise the game is just, I think I put it in the worst case in this section, does a poor job of doing, showing off your accomplishments, because achievements are nothing. I mean, achievements were something Xbox put in way back in the day just to incentivize people to continue playing the game, because we have this OCD mentality to be, I need everything. I need to collect everything. I need to have all these achievements done. And now every game underneath the sun has them because it works. It plays on people's mentalities. So, but do they really matter unless they're tied to a cosmetic reward or an unlock or a mount or something? No. So I generally don't care for them. But when it comes to showing off player accomplishments and the guild housing, along with, other things that don't relate to the leaderboards, I just felt it would be nice to have something else to do. Like, I have 20 minutes. I've been meaning to change up my house. Let me go in, do that. At least I could do something in game. It keeps me involved, keeps me logging in. Even though it's something completely tertiary to the game itself, it's still something.
Yeah. Shazam, man. Any thoughts on player housing? Like, you have anything to throw in? I know you went over the document, so.
Yeah, like to expand on the player housing in Kane's house. I like the way PoE does it. Like let's say you're going through the sewer. I can't remember what the hell act it is now.
2.
But you go through the sewer. Well, and PoE, I don't know what act that is.
Oh, sorry. I don't PoE. My bad, bro. The sewer in Diablo's 2. Sorry, my bad.
There's a hole in the wall. You walk into the hole in the wall, kill everything in that room, and you can unlock it as your player's house. Or like, there's like one where you're on top of like a cathedral or whatever, and you walk into this room, kill everybody in there, and now all of a sudden your house is basically, you can make it as a cathedral. That to me would be pretty awesome in Diablo. But just like your document, they have everything. They have waypoints, portal. They have the crafting. You could put whatever vendor you want there. And they have the map thing, the map device, and all their stuff like that. But that would be awesome in Diablo, 4 or 3 or whatever. I just wish that they would do it. They wouldn't. They talked about it in World of Warcraft. It never happened in World of Warcraft. And yeah, I would love to see it in Diablo. It's you can make it any way you want to, and you know, I don't know. And your achievements and a trophy thing, that's above and beyond anything PoE does. I never thought of that, you know. And it's just if people like, you know, like Leviathan and stuff, their trophy room would be like stacked with everything.
Oh God! They would have like a gym, like an equivalent of like a gymnasium full of just trophy cases, and you walking going, yeah, I'm gonna go through this for like an hour or two, just look around.
I don't know if you guys ever got into Guild Wars 2. I don't know if you ever tried it out or anything.
For about 3.5 hours.
Well, I got it, and me and my son were playing it, and I really never got far in the game. I think the problem was I was way into WoW, and I was way into the auction house, which is a whole nother story. But I was so into another game when I got that I didn't give it the chance that it probably deserved. But one thing that I did absolutely love and really miss about that game was they went 9 leagues above everybody else in character customization. It is beyond the oh my God, like you can like there's the whole thing for dyes. Like, Diablo has dyes, which is cool, whatever, right? But, you have like what? You have the yellow, you have green, you have the colors. Everybody knows the colors, right? Blue, blah, 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 black, white, whatever. And they had that. But they also had like this whole long range of all these different, where you could mix colors together, you could take different mats. It was like a whole crafting system just with the dye. You could make custom colors. There was like special event colors, like holiday colors, like whatever you did an event, maybe you got a certain brown or something, whatever. And it was just like this long, really deep system. Not only to mention that, but you could dye any piece of your armor any color you wanted. Like, I think it's a little limited in Diablo because, like, you have you put your shoulders on and then you click the yellow or whatever, red, whatever you want, and it, like, dyes the thing red. And there's always, like, a piece that I'm like, I wish the whole thing was, but you could really get in there and customize. Like, I want the tops of the shoulders to be black, and then the bottom of the borders below that to be like a red, and then like another black, maybe some gray around the sides, and the feathers on the top would be yellow, for example. You could really customize the crap out of that. Not only that, but when you went into combat, your character would actually have your combat set of gear on with the combat transmog that you set up. And when you went into town, you would have another, like a town set. So maybe you could, if you were a female character, maybe you could be having like a fancy dress on, or if like you were a male character, maybe, or it doesn't have to be gender specific, but like if you were a male character, maybe you would want like a, like a town crier type thing. And you could design all that stuff. And depending on where you were at in the game, it changed. It was just very, very deep. Me and my son spent hours and hours designing our outfits and our, everything to make even the weapons and everything. And it was fully customized. And that is the only game I've ever seen do it. And that is the best game I've ever seen do it. And I wish they kind of went with that, because I do like my character to look good. Like I said earlier, I do transmog still. I just transmogged my barbarian like 2 days ago, and I went over there and you know how you do it. You go through all the sets and you're, this helmet with this shoulders. You know how you do it. And you throw the die on there. But I wish it was like an in-depth dive, because that's what I'm looking for.
It went a step or two beyond what it is.
Yeah, for players who don't care, they don't have to use that thing. I just think it would add more to the game, and then you would get more customization because, honestly, I mean, come on. If you look at the leaderboard, the top 200-300 people all running the exact same set. They're all running, they all have the same shoulder pads. They all have the same stats. They all have the same weapon. They all have the same gems. They all look the same. They're all dyed the same color, or maybe somebody's wearing a different transmog, but it's really not custom. You know what I mean? It's more of this is the way your character looks. It's not, this is the way Dead Greed character looks. This is the way the Barbarian looks. It's kind of the way I feel about it,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there definitely is that aspect to it.
I know Blizzard likes to look at other games, and I know they like to take some ideas from here or there. I wish they would take that, and I wish they'd implement it into maybe D4, because I would love to get real deep into that. Something I was excited about when D3 first came out was the banners, because it's like a customized thing. Like, you do these achievements or you do this and you get these unlocks. Now I don't care about the banners. As a matter of fact, I hate that the banners are in the middle by the portal. I click on them all the time on accident. It's very annoying. And I mean, yeah, you set your banner up, but after that, it's like this part of the game that you go into there and you're like, oh, I'm gonna put the wings on and I'm gonna make it black with some red, and I'm gonna have the long banners and I'm gonna have this and that. But after that, I mean, do you even care about your banner anymore, brother?
To a certain extent. Usually it's because in season play, I usually switch between a wizard and a demon hunter. So usually when I'm doing a wizard, I'll change up the main sigil and the accent. Maybe I'll change one of the colors to like a more purple or teal because, wizard colors, versus changing it to like red and black for a demon hunter. Well, that's about it, because there's nothing much more you can really do.
I mean, one thing we use them for is and I don't really use it this way, but I know Rona does a lot. Excuse me, throat thing. But if he kills an elite, you know how it is. T13 is not really this giant challenge, which we don't need more. I don't think we need more regular Rift levels. I know a lot of people say, "Oh, 13, it's blah blah blah. It's low power. Maybe we should bump it up because
you're on the good side of that argument. I like you."
Well, okay. The reason why I think that, and this ties all back into that, but the reason why I think that is because, let's say I know that there was T10 at one time, and they bumped it to T13, right, or whatever. I think anyway, 10 to 13. But anyway, they raised it up and whatever. But if they raise it up to T15 or T20 now, I mean, you're going to lose a lot of the builds, because some builds are only good for certain things, like speed building, getting your death breath, or like a sage set, like a crusader with sage. At some point, you're not going to be able to bring that crusader with the sage set into a T20, for example, because it's just going to, it's going to be, you're going to have to get rid of to me, the 13, you drop your emerald, you pick up a gem of ease, maybe you drop some of your passives and you drop some gear and get some gold gear, maybe a boon of hoarder, you take out one of your legendaries, right? you know, you kind of have a gold finding set on, which means you lose a lot of power, you lose a lot of defense, or maybe you pick up a lot of defense because you're running the belt of gold wrap, right? So you're like an immortal guy who can't die because you got a lot of gold, which is fine. But it's like these speed builds. If you increase that torment, you're going to lose those speed builds, to an extent. Because
I mean, yeah, you're gonna lose them. The power of the sets now could probably compensate for it, but at the end of the day, Torment is for farming, and farming doesn't have to be hard.
Yeah.
If you want hard, go GRs. If you don't like GRs, well, that's on you, unfortunately. And it's up to you to either suggest something ideas, wait to see if it gets implemented. If it doesn't, then you decide, is this the game for me to play? If it is, you play it. If it isn't, you move to something else. That's kind of the whole argument and solution in a nutshell.
Yeah. There was a lot of other things, and this is just one section, but there was a lot of things like Soul Mirror of the Dead, there was Thrones, a lot of other customization things you could really do in your player housing. Shazam touched on like crafting rooms, vendors, stash room, things like that, different waypoints, other ideas, which is all great. When you start talking about like player housing and you have all these ideas, it's, anything they do in that area would be great. I hope that they implement something like that in D4. I mean, we could get into the whole Paragon, the Paragon grind next if you want to get into that section. If you want to, because it's
I'll make it short. I'll make it as short as possible. The Paragon section is where almost everything in this document stems from. The Paragon section is actually the seed, because a couple of years ago, I would have said I hate Paragon. I despise Paragon. Those are strong words, and I would stick by them. In fact, to this day, it is the one thing that if I'm at work and casually listening to someone like, Anime Disco or Big Daddy Den or Riker or anyone, and someone just merely mentions Paragon in any form of conversational deal, I am in that Twitch chat like no one's business, and I am like, is this a rated PG or is this a mature?
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck this system, because everyone's like, and I put it all the reasons in like about halfway through the Paragon section, because everyone's like, oh, well, what if you cap it? Okay, first of all, if you have a cap, everyone's eventually gonna reach it, so everyone's gonna have the same point allocation. So why have the grind to begin with? It's like a less meaningful grind than the grind to 70 at the end of the day, because there's nothing of value at the end of it. At least when you hit 70, there's 70 level gear. There's stuff that you unlock. What if everyone hits Paragon cap? Literally everyone is the same. It's like you went from level 0 back to level 0, because there's two terms, distance and displacement. You have gone from level 0 to a level 100, but since everyone else is a level 100, your displacement is 0, so you're at the same point. It's insanity, but you have to realize it. And then everyone's like, make a separate game mode for it. People suggesting that for actually a seasonal theme where it's a capped or a no Paragon season. I'm like, that is the lowest common seasonal theme idea ever. Granted, there isn't much with the current game itself that we can suggest that would be that different, because that would be different. Like, if we had to stick with stuff in the game, I would begrudgingly say I would rather have a Paragon-less season than any other idea, because at least that would demonstrate, are the top people who are the top really the top? Or is it some nobody who actually plays the game that much better, but they just can't play competitively because they don't have 10 hours a day to grind for Paragon. There is that question. Well, yeah, there's always that. But at the same time, there's always that question lingering with this game. Is it because of Paragon, or is it that the person who doesn't have enough time doesn't have, but has the skill to execute it? Because you need both sides of the equation. You need the gear, you need the skill, and you need the Paragon. And your augments, but that just comes with Paragon grinding. So that, yeah, this whole document stems from Paragon, and how I'm like, if people are so, and the last part is people are so easily complicit to say, oh, I don't mind Paragon. This is a gear grinding game, or at least that's what I was told when I was researching this game before I was gonna get into it, before I got into beta and made all my community websites. I didn't realize this game was about grinding Paragon and grinding these points to allocate. So there's a misalignment in the game philosophy somewhere here. So that's why the solution was take all the stats from Paragon, put it back on gear where it belongs. So that's why your gear is your source of your stats, not this tertiary system that has no basis, has no lore associated to it. It's just there. And then when it comes to stuff like main stat increases, well, augmenting isn't bad because it's an effort in, effort out system. It works with giving you more power, but it works also with you have to put in the effort to get an augment. So in theory, if you wanted to stick with the current power level of Paragon that we're getting now, you just have to double approximately the point value of augments. So instead of 5, you double it to 10, and yes, all the Jay Wilson doubling jokes come out there, but it really works out. The numbers are in there. And that's it. And then you're allowing people to have another avenue of somewhat long-term gear progression, but you're not tying it to a pure time sink, which is really meaningless at the end of the day. And you're allowing people who want to farm higher GRs, who get those higher augments, to unlock higher GRs, a way of being a step above everybody else still. So it's the best case solution for a lot of things. It helps make things more competitive while keeping things fairer, but it's not a total everyone's on an equal playing field type deal, and it makes the game more about the gear you get versus just putting in your time, and more importantly, not screwing up the game to absurd levels where it has been the last couple of seasons where, oh, you don't have a rat run group, you're screwed because you're not going to get enough Paragon to compete with those people. So it rebalances the need to have a certain class with a certain build or a certain group to farm Paragon. You just don't have to worry about it anymore. So it relieves that pressure of, if I'm not doing X, I'm not going to be able to do Y, so why am I shooting for Z?
I'll let Shazam go off about Paragon if he wants to.
I don't know how to basically what you said is 100% right, but I kind of have maybe an idea. I thought of it when I was reading it earlier today, like reading your stuff earlier today. Mm-hmm. And tell me if this makes any sense to you, or if it just seems like I'm just gonna like add more problems to a game than fix them. Okay, right now you have at 800 Paragon, everything is at 200 points across everything. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
So instead of this Paragon like, you have 200 points across everything. Your crit hit damage is at, 5 or 10? I can't remember. Your crit hit damage is at 50%, all this stuff. Let's say it doesn't affect your character at that point in time. Let's say that you ground 200 Paragon in this, certain in offense, defense, utility, whatever. You can take crit hit chance out of your Paragon stuff, add it to a piece of gear, replace one of your affixes and one of your pieces of gear. That being said, you can't touch that part of that piece of equipment after that. You have to grind them 50 Paragon points again back into your Paragon to use it in another piece of gear. So essentially, you're not going to grind 200 points and have 200 points of crit hit chance, crit hit damage, cooldown reduction, and the other one, I can't remember what it is right now. But you're just going to continuously... Yeah, you're going to continuously grind crit hit chance, crit hit damage, depending on your build, cooldown reduction. I think that's in offense. I can't remember. But you're just going to put that on a piece of gear. So you can enchant one item. You can enchant one piece of, like, let's say you're taking a vitality off of an item. You can enchant that with your enchanter. Use Paragon points to change a piece of gear to, let's say, 50% crit hit chance, crit hit damage. Then that piece of gear can't be touched essentially for the rest of the game. But you have to grind 50 more Paragon. That being said, I know 50 Paragon early in the season is easier than 50 Paragon later in the season. Mm-hmm. So, that being said... Sure. You continuously grind Paragon, so you have, let's say you're at 1,500 Paragon at the end of the season, but you've blown, 800 or 1,000 Paragon and crit hit chance, crit hit damage on all your gear, your 5 pieces or whatever that can have it. So, I don't know. Does that seem feasible, or does that just creating more of a problem than it's going to help? That would essentially get rid of Paragon, though.
I mean, so essentially it's like, what you're doing, you're almost
augmenting.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's almost like you're taking Paragon from being a main stat stick, that's what it is. It's main stat stick. Because everyone can get to 800 now. I mean, back maybe a couple seasons, I would still be on the fence. Like, okay, maybe some people can't get to 800 over the course of a season. I'm like, no. The pure power of the sets alone. Screw augment. Screw having the perfect weapon. You could make a impaled demon hunter with like a bare bones, non-ancient Carly's Point, and you can wreck 90s. Now, there's no excuse. The only reason why you don't get 800, you just don't play for more than 2 weeks. I mean, that's just kind of it. So to get back to your idea, it's it's a total rethinking of what Paragon is. It's not an allocative, a cumulative system. It's a different form of the augmentation system is what it becomes. And it's still, but it keeps the on your toes, because which could be seen as a negative deterrent, because you never know how far you're going to get in the Paragon. So do I need to go for 1,000? Do I need to go for 1,200? How quickly do I get my good pieces so I can start doing it? And how far along in Paragon am I at that point versus how much further I have to go? There's always that element, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, because that introduces player decisions and it makes the player accountable. So that's not necessarily a bad thing. There definitely may have to be rebalancing of how much, because 50 critical hit damage, granted, you came up with the countermeasure of you could only do one piece once, which is definitely something that would have to be done even though if you're putting 50% critical hit damage on every piece, there's 13 pieces, so you're allowing 650% critical hit damage if someone just wants to front load damage, or even split it kind of half, so 70 critical hit chance on top of, so someone could theoretically get over 100% crit chance, which is nuts. So they would definitely have to be balancing in that aspect for sure.
I'm saying keeping like the pieces are now, like gloves, stuff like that, having crit hit chance, crit hit damage, not like boots having crit hit jam and crit hit chance, and like all the stuff that doesn't have it now.
So basically using the pieces natural, what they can actually roll with, and then that's your limit. So in that regards, it actually does a better job at self-limiting, so it would actually be better in that regards. You may not have to balance it in that aspect. I mean, I'm not initially opposed to the idea, and there have been a lot of ideas over the course of the time. Some people have tried, like, why don't we add more tabs with more items, but you limit the amount of Paragon, but you could put your Paragon anywhere. It's like, okay, so people are just going to find the best things to put your points into and just ignore the other 95% of the system. It's like, that's not how you fix it. You have to address the core problem, and if the core problem is never really going to be fixed, you have to think about getting rid of the system. And they did that once with the real money auction house and the gold auction house. And so just to sum up and not go too tangenty, like, I actually think your idea has more basis than like 95% of the other ideas I've heard, and that's being honest. But I think when you really think about it, and this is something I don't say too seriously, but there's like a 5% seriousness put behind this statement. I wonder how they would have actually balanced a second expansion with Paragon.
Yeah, I thought about that a lot too, because you know, we had Diablo 3 and you had 100 Paragon points, right? And some people had 100, some people didn't. But when you went into Reaper, you know, maybe you were level 61 with, you know, at the highest possible 100 Paragon points, right? So they were still able to, you know, run you through the act when you were level 60. You know, you go to Act 5, right? And you start the game at Act 5 with 100 Paragon points, if that's what you had. And they were still able to let you go through the game without being a complete joke. And now, if they added an Act 6, and I have 3,900 Paragon points, now, I mean, I don't, but I'm saying people do. You know, some people have 6,000 Paragon points. How in the heck are they going to make an Act 6? Like, how would they have ever made an Act 6? Yeah. I mean, what were they going to do? Lock you out of your Paragon until you're done with the act? I mean, I don't know what they would have done.
No, that's, well, not necessarily.
They didn't lock us out. They didn't lock us out before.
Basically,
but I'm saying now, like, you know, I got Shazam's going to be close to 2,000 Paragon at the end of the season, or probably 2,500 Paragon non-season. And you know, if they did drop another expansion and they put an Act 6 out, Jesus, have you ever leveled a character lately? I mean, not power level, but I just mean just to grab a regular character by yourself and throw your, you know, 1,800 or 2,000 Paragon. I couldn't imagine having 6,400 Paragon points and putting it on my level 1 guy and running through. He never dies. He kills everything instantly. It's, you know, I don't understand how they would have ever. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I thought they were never going to do. I mean, I guess they were eventually going to do another thing, but I was on the side of, I didn't think they were going to do another expansion. And that was one of the major reasons I thought, yeah, what are they going to do with the Paragon? I mean, we have unlimited Paragon points. It's kind of like,
yeah,
you know, what can they do? Right. Cause it's,
yeah. And I think, with giving the team credit, they're in that leaked document from Kotaku. The second expansion was actually in the works as Reaper of Souls was just about ready to come out, and that's when it was allegedly canceled. So I think that would have been a total, like, the Reaper of Souls that we have now would have been completely different if the second expansion was coming in. The power creep, the amount of items, what would have been, like, we have I want to say, like, Looney Tunes Left Turn in Albuquerque situation. Like, we have a different game now that we would have ever had if a second expansion was
we wouldn't have had the Cube, right? Because the Cube was slated for an expansion 2 thing, right?
Yeah, it seems
we
like
we wouldn't have had augments. We wouldn't have had. Yeah. There's a lot of power creep we would not have had. I understand that, but I just mean purely Paragon.
Yeah, that's what it is.
I'm not talking.
I think that's what people don't understand is, like, when you get up to Paragons of like 5, 6, 7,000, like, the game is completely different at that point. Like, that's when, like, you can start doing really wacky stuff. Like, you start rolling off, like, your vitality everywhere, so you get another damage or cooldown or resource affix, and then you, like, augment with vitality gem, because you can do 120 or 130 augment at that point for vitality. So you still keep some of your vitality, but you're getting a more important damage affix on that part. So, like, rings, necklaces, gloves, shoulders, like the really good quadfecta gear slots. You can just start doing wacky stuff that you can't even think about doing, even at the 3,000 or 4,000 Paragon ranges. And when you do the math for the 5, 6, 7,000 Paragon people, they have on average 3 to 4 times the amount of main stat a normal person would have in their decked out ancient gear. It's like they have like 35, 36,000, if not more, main stat, while everyone else is running around with 12 to 15. Yeah. And then you throw on really good augments. You can maybe get yourself up to that 20K or above that 20K main stat line, but that's still with a healthy amount of Paragon at that point. Like, you still need a good 13 to 1,500 Paragon main stat boost along with the good gear. So it's insane how the game changes at that level. And that's why I'm like, the system is fundamentally flawed, because they could have, when augments were introduced, said they could have said, okay, we're just going to cap Paragon at 800, but if you want further advancement, you have to look towards augments. They could have done it at that point. It would have been, I don't want to assume, but I want to assume that it would have been relatively simple to say, look, we see power creep being a potential issue with Paragon, but we're going to introduce these augments, which are based on people clearing greater rifts, which have a natural conclusion, because you need to be able to clear the rift. It's not just time in, for thousands of hours during a season. But you actually have to earn it. And then there's the RNG system on top of it. So there's 2 countermeasures in the system for runaway power creep. They could have done it then, and they just didn't. So I think that was at the point where they knew there was never going to be a second expansion. They didn't have to balance it. They didn't really have to worry about it too much. And the balance by item philosophy, that's what I call it, quote unquote, was allowed to basically run rampant. And that's what contributed to all the power creep we have. So that's why I've always railed against Paragon, because if anything like it appears in the next game, I am automatically on the fence if I'm going to buy it. And that is a honest statement from me.
Just an overview of Paragon for me. A long time ago, when we first started playing, I realized people are going to have several things that I don't have. I'm not a rich guy, so I have to work, and I have to go to work and make a living. And I'm just the kind of guy that's not going to employ a bot to run my character while I'm at work or sleeping or whatever. I don't see the point in having something play your character so you have all this power when you get back. Because if you didn't earn it, it's kind of like a rich kid with the Ferrari. He don't care. You know, he can wreck it and who cares? Daddy's going to buy me a new one. Doesn't matter, right? It's kind of one of those, you run the game like that. So to me, I care, but I don't care about the leaderboards. I want to get as high as I can get, and I'm not like, oh, I have to beat the number 3 guy, you know, that shameful guy. I have to beat him. To me, I'm in a competition with myself, and you know, and I know I've said a lot on the show, like, oh, I made, you know, this level, or I went to this, or, you know, I got this landmark done, or this conquest, whatever, right? And it's a competition to myself. With all that said, I don't terribly mind the Paragon for a couple reasons. Because it gives me something to look forward to. You know, like, oh, I can get to that 1,000, or I can get to that 1,200, or I can beat that last season. I got 1,200, and man, I want to try to get to 1,300 this season. So it's like it helps me put like a goal in place for me. And I know Shazam does the same thing, but it helps us put these goals in place where we can be like, oh, I'm going to try real hard to beat my overall Paragon, or I'm going to try to, you know, to get to the highest point I've ever been on a leaderboard, which then Paragon will help you a bunch. So I don't mind the Paragon. Another reason why I don't mind it, or I don't hate it, is because, and I'm not saying that it's a great system, because it's really not, because it's just stacks more and more power. It's you know, but to me, it's like continual progress. Like, I can see that bar, and I'm doing this rift, and I get another point, and I do a rift, and I get another point, and I get another point. And it is fun at the beginning of the season when you're running these sleds, you get 20 or... That is kind of fun. I mean, come on.
When you're digging the Paragon, and when you ding the Paragon kills the mobs and heals you. So it's like, oh, this could be like almost a self-feeding thing. If I kill enough mobs, I get Paragon, it kills more mobs, so I can keep on going. It's like I don't need pylons. It's like it just kind of feeds itself. So that's like a fun gameplay type deal. And that's the reason why this whole document really exists, is because I came to terms with my despising of Paragon and hatred of Paragon. I'm like, no, because just like you, like, yeah, I want to hit 1,300 Paragon. I may want to go a little bit higher this season, you know, time allowing. And it is because it gives you a sense of a daily goal, a weekly goal, a sense of long-term progression. But unfortunately, Paragon is the only source of that in this current iteration of the game. It's like we have to at least have the ability to I can't say the word half the time. Put things in containers. There we go. I'm gonna do a 5th grade substitution there. $2 word for a $5 word. There we go. So
I love it.
So yes, Paragon I view as a bad system, but it has positive effects on individuals and the reasons to play. However, it shouldn't be Paragon. It should be other systems that are much more well built, or should be the sources, like the Season Journey, or, you know, or something else that can actually be better suited to rewarding the player for what they're doing, not just this arbitrary, again, system that is great but is showing that it's not fully there, and they never circled back to upgrading it. Again, it's another system that it just feels like it's good for what it is. It's better than the college try. It actually works. It's good. It's a good source, but we we need to move on. We need something more than this. We may need the next system beyond what this would have ever been. We may need to go 2 steps further. If we even acknowledge we want this system to begin with.
Well, something you said real quick. I don't want to every little thing, but you're talking about the season journey, and it's kind of a thing for me because like when they came out with the season journey, I was so excited because it was like, it's like this checklist of goals.
Mm-hmm.
And go kill the Rift Guardian, go kill the Key Wardens, it's like all these cool things in the game. Some of the stuff I don't like, okay, get your enchanter up to max level. Really? Come on.
Your set dungeon. You
complete
oh my
God,
it,
don't even
master
get started
it.
on the set dungeon, especially now when we have to take. I mean, literally.
I love
80% of your gear. Oh God, I hate this.
I love it.
Don't even get me started on it.
No, I love it because when you have to do it as a wizard, you just put on all your Veers gear and you just play Veers. I don't know who said it a couple of shows ago, but they are dead correct. Yeah. It's like you just roll in there with a half assembled Veers gear and you just do it. I'm like, that's the only set dungeon I love doing. But I'm sorry, continue.
Look, and we can talk about the set dungeon in a minute, but the season journey is something I was very excited about. And now I have all the rewards, and it is beyond a bore.
It's underwhelming.
It's so... And I'm sorry if you're out there working on your season journey and you're having trouble. But I played it a different level with players. We team up and we help each other. And if you're solo, I get it. Some of the stuff is, especially the conquest. Some of the conquests are hard at solo, like kill 350 guys in a chest, or solo. Boss mode is very difficult solo. Although I did solo it on a demon hunter a while back, but it's not. It just feels like it went from like this exciting thing that I was really pumped to, well, I guess we're going to do season journey again, even though I don't get any rewards. And I mean, okay, I get a little banner thing. It's, I don't know. It just, to me, it's like this thing that they put into the game and it was a great intention, but it doesn't really, after you get your stash tabs, right? It's kind of like it feels like a lackluster. It feels like a lackluster thing, right? Because it's like, okay, season journey's over, and I don't know. This is something I think that they need to work on, because, and I know you have it in there in a section of this document where you're talking about that. It's just, to me, it's like I've done it so many, and maybe it's because I've done it so many times, but like we're playing with a guy in our community, and he's a newer, he leveled his character up, and I'm like, oh, so I take off, and he's doing something, and he don't even know what I'm doing, and I'm doing the bounties real quick, so he gets that, and he's like, oh yeah, I did need that, and then I jump and I kill all the bosses. He's like, oh yeah, and then then I go do the Key Wardens, and I took him to the Ubers real quick, and it's just like I'm just smash, and it's like, I don't know, did I just ruin his season journey? Because like, you know what I mean? I just smashed it so he could get his stash tab, and he could get his 6-piece. It's kind of like this. I wish it was a better system. Although I don't have any great ideas for what could be a better system for season journey, I do like the fact that it's like this checklist, it's like these goals, get this done. Oh, thank you, good Lord, thank you, Blizzard, for taking out level a hardcore character to 70. I don't play hardcore.
I remember doing that once. I was like, oh god, never again, please.
I don't play hardcore because I don't want to put a bunch of time into something I can lose. I want to play the game. I want to have fun. I want to play with my friends. I want to play with the community. I want to be on Discord. I want to talk. I want to have fun. I don't want to lose my stuff. And I get it. You know, it adds this element of oh, you might, you know, you got to hang on there because you might, you know, that favorite sword you just picked up, it might be gone. I understand that. But to me, it's just this journey. It's not there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Shazam. Since we're running long here, any part of this document you want to go over? Something that really stuck out for you?
I want to see the Chaldean Colosseum. That's what I want to see.
I love that. Yeah, that was nice. Yeah, we can have him talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, that was never planned for the document. What was originally planned in the beginning was something called like a weekly bounty, where there was going to be, you know, some form of a bounty, but it was going to be not necessarily harder, but just more in depth. Like you know, maybe like old time escort missions and WoW, and like something like that. Something you can do weekly, maybe tie it to a leaderboard, but it didn't have to be, because everything doesn't have to be tied to a leaderboard. Everything doesn't need to be a competition. Like otherwise, you just burn out on it, and it just misfocuses what it really is to begin with. But the more I thought about what the weekly bounty was, I'm like, I really can't make this feel like it's a separate idea by itself that can stand on its own merit. So I scrapped it, and I'm like, well, what else could it do? And then I remembered way back in the day, the first fan site I did a couple of PvP articles, and one of them was describing like how they could possibly do like a King of the Hill in Diablo 3, or how they could do a wave mode in Diablo 3. And this was before Reaper Souls, where we got all those chess events that essentially do that in one way or another.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? I've always had a weird idea that, you know, Chaldean would fall into borderline collapse after Reaper Souls, because, you know, all the royalty dies off from Methel, and now all the thieves and commoners are taking over the high fancy places, and one of the bigger buildings was turned into a Roman like Colosseum, and now there's death matches being done there that everyone's betting on, and everyone's taking the money from high society and using that to go in there. It's a real cutthroat mentality. And why not have another descendant of Geed there to, you know, kind of lead it all through? I mean, that would be the pinnacle of it at the end of the day. So that's where the idea really came from. And then I was like, you know, the corrupted pylons, and really amping up the platforming of it all, and like the random events, like kind of take the best elements that we have of randomness in the game, the maps in the game, and just really amp it up to this tight knit, one, I guess, like one gauntlet after another gauntlet, and you keep on going until you just can't do them anymore within the allowed time, and then you get rewards. And then that's where I stopped. I came up with the entire system. I didn't have a reward structure for it. I just went through everything, the whole concept. I'm like, I can't think of a reward for this. There has to be a reward, or no one's going to do it. But for 2 weeks, I didn't have a reward system. And then I thought of charms, and then like, wait, how can we make charms really valuable? And that's where the talisman Kanai's Cube recipe came from, and all the ideas that came from that. So that's how I felt like, okay, this is how we can make people care about charms, because there's something higher above them, and you need the charms. And because you need the charms, you need to do the Chaldean Coliseum, and that's the reason why you care about doing that on a weekly basis, to try to get as many good charms, to get as many good talismans. And there's an RNG element to it because you never have full control because you get them in a weekly cash style like a bounty, but it's weekly. But you can get up to 9+ bags depending on how well you do. At least that's what's in the system. Again, as I say multiple times in the document, numbers to be determined by the developers. Because I acknowledge I may not be the best person at all at balancing this shit. But yeah, that was the whole crux of this system. Like, if it just wasn't there, that it went from not being there to being there, and then I had no reward structure. But I'm like, God damn it, I'm gonna figure out a reward structure because I'm not erasing this section.
You know, we before Reaper, or I guess at the beginning of Reaper, right? We had that you had to do a bounties. And you got like whatever the heck that thing was called, and I still have some in my stash tab. And then that opened the little trial, right? The trial key.
And
opened the trial key. Yeah. And then the trial would give you a greater rift key, which that was such a bad. It was such a bad system because it was
layers
so
and layers
punishing.
and layers and layers.
Yeah, it was so punishing. And I love the way that they changed it to where they got rid of the trial and they have the greater rifts, where you can funnel into them and it does, as long as you've done like a 95, you can do a 96 or whatever, right? You can progress your way up. And I like that. With that said, that kind of like the Coliseum, it reminds me of that old system, only you get rewarded because before the reward was you got a keystone, and it didn't really feel like a reward. It felt like I have to do bounties to get the to get into the trial. I had to do a trial to get into the greater rift, and all I wanted to do was greater rifts. Yeah. So I think the way they had that set up now, I think the reward was just bad. If they would have had great rewards for that, I think I would have loved that system because it was, you got in there and you. But again, one thing that just come to mind is look at my Crusader, and now I have to have another build because there's no way I'm bringing this Thorn's Crusader to that kind of a trial system because we kill trash. So now what? You have to have somebody to kill trash. Like it's I don't know. It's like a weird.
That was the problem back in the day, like season 1, season 2. I was in a primarily wizard exclusive clan. It wasn't like a requirement of the clan, but pretty much everyone was a wizard, and everyone started getting wind like, oh, you want to do higher GRs with your wizard? Yeah, you need to make a demon hunter because the demon hunter is better at getting the higher GR keys in the trials, but the demon hunters actually can't do those higher GR clears, but the wizard can. So that alone told you how imbalanced the systems were. It was like the demon hunters could get the higher keys, but they couldn't do the GRs, but the wizards couldn't get the higher keys, but they could actually do those GRs. So it was completely backwards and upside down and inverted. And some people are like, no, I like that system. Like, oh, you like knowing that when you were doing the trials, if you screwed up by about 2 seconds at any given point, instead of getting that GR 39 key, you got a 41 that you could not do at all, so it was a wasted key, and you had to get another one and get it up to the 39. And this was loosey-goosey. There was no fine mechanic to get like a 39 or 40 or 41, because that was like the rough highest that you could do in season 1 with any class or any one build. Yeah, I mean, the system now is so much more streamlined, and I think the game, for the most part, has greatly improved by streamlining. In some cases, it could use a little bit of more nuance. But yeah, that's definitely one element of that's been greatly improved.
Something I wanted to go into was Pandemonium Gate.
Thank you.
I enjoyed this. I read this twice. I really enjoyed the Pandemonium Gate thing, which I also funneled down to like, down to like Artifact and the other thing. We'll get into that stuff. But man, the Pandemonium Gate, it just seemed like this great idea because, you get in and you start building your character and you get player power and then you start smashing GRs and this just adds like an extra. You can go in and talk about the Pandemonium Gate because I really did. I enjoyed this. It was a fun read for me, and it spun some ideas in my head, and I really enjoyed it. So I'll let you go into what all it entails, kinda. And anyway,
Yeah, I mean, God, do I even really remember where this idea came from? Actually, okay, I remember this. The bulk of the ideas for this chapter, for this system that has other systems tied to it that filter down into the ways I changed gear around and did other things. Like whereas Paragon was like the seed of the tree, you could say the Pandemonium Gate is at the top of the trunk before it just becomes all branches. Like that's like the second most, like the Pandemonium Gate is like the second biggest part of this document because a lot of things come off of this directly or indirectly. And essentially what it is, like at first glance it may seem like, okay, I'm introducing another rift system, which yes, it deserves that because that's what it kind of plays as, but it's doing it in a different way. It's bringing back the idea of targeted farming. So if you decide to go to this world or that world, on one world you may be able to get a higher chance of dropping shields and flails versus another one maybe rings and necklaces, where another one may be this 5 or 6 gear slots. It's like however it change, and that could be changed on a seasonal basis. And like how I said, you go to different worlds. So how do you get to these worlds? Well, the worlds can be rotated out on a season basis, which means they can introduce special keystones for holiday events. So so the two examples I give is there's a Hallow's End world where it's all Halloween based. So we literally go to a world of nightmares and Halloween during that season that it's in. Or for Christmas, I called it, and I was almost instantly, I knew it was a great idea because when I showed the act map, the Pandemonium act map, and he looked at it, he saw fa la la, and he instantly continued the Christmas jingle off of that. I'm like, yes, the idea, it works. It's like it's like
great, yeah.
So basically like fa la la, the hellish wonderland. So you go there, so you're fighting crazed elves, screwed up, diseased reindeer, and the big boss is just a blood. It's like basically think of like Santa Claus and the Butcher put together. That's actually more close to the real
Giant
origin.
Christmas trees.
Yeah,
that throw Christmas ornaments at you, maybe.
Or just like pine trees that just like want to impale you. It's like all this, but it's like it's a better lore way of introducing seasonal or special events, but it's also another way of exploring the creations of creation that were made by the different elements of heaven and hell. So we actually feel like we're part of the eternal conflict, because it's like, okay, the eternal conflict is this big universe thing, but we're stuck in Sanctuary, and yet everything happens here. It's like, I understand Sanctuary is important, it's a gem in the rough, but like there have to be other places that could be explored, and that was part of it. But the big reason why I wanted to do this is because, like I acknowledge, if we're gonna get rid of Paragon, which currently is our source of long-term progression, we need something to fill that gap, and that's what the gate purpose is. It's meant to be the actual tangible source of long-term progression, because there's different worlds that you can upgrade each world and unlock more regions per the worlds when you rank up your keystone. And then when you get to the bosses, they drop really powerful items that you can put on your gear. So you feel like you're getting more ways of like power tweaking your gear, really finite adjusting your build with your skills and your outlooks. And most importantly, it removes the responsibility of GRs to be a long-term progression system, and it basically, with the items that you get there and the way I establish trading in the economics session, it almost, depending on what rules you would establish, it allows for trading, and it allows for a currency-based system, which gets us closer to something like PoE, where we can actually have an economy that's run by us, not an algorithm on an auction house, and allows us to trade stuff. Granted, in the economic section, I say there's no centralized system. Like it's basically that trading is meant to be with friends. It's not supposed to be something you can make a profit off of. Some people will have different opinions on that. You can have those opinions. This is mine. But the point of the gate is just to introduce a higher tier, a higher class of items, and allow people to do things like the extra affix, like, you know, just a wacky thing. Well, I don't have an example offhand. There are a few in there, or the Eye of the Defiler, which is actually it's a powerful item, but you have to use it on the right slot, and it actually has a negative effect on your gear. So it's like, yeah, those meteor boots for Taos, like, okay, I want to increase the legendary power by 15%, but I'm going to lose 30% of a main stat, of a vitality or intellect or something. So it's a trade-off. But you know what? Getting 15% more power on meteor boots, yeah, I do that. I'd be willing to take that hit if it was a good pair, because the power and the class of the items that you get there, along with everything else, just makes you want to go there. It's like, as you were saying, like, you know, how Paragon, like, I want to reach 1,000. You stare up into the clouds and you see the gate there, and you're like, I want to be there. I want to know what that is. And you get there.
Yeah, such a goal.
And it's like, you get there and you're like, I'm here, but I haven't even started yet. Like, that's what a long-term progression system is. It's like you just don't passively get it. Like, you know, you have to get there, and then you have to work more. You unlock things not in a spider web fashion, but in a sense of like, I'm here. Oh my God, I have to do so much, but it's outlined in such a way where it's simple, it's effective, and if you know what you're doing, you can take advantage of it. And that's what it should be. And that's why I love the gate. The gate is my baby. Half the images I wasn't planning on actually doing. That map, that map act is what I call a 4-hour image, because it took 4 hours to do that image to make it look right and make all the planets.
It looks awesome.
To make all the planets look right, but I'm so happy with it. And then I did the other images, and I'm just so happy with it. I'm happy with all the images, but if I could have one image printed out on like a canvas, it would be that image, because that just exemplifies everything of this document and what I wanted it to be.
Oh, one thing I wanted to say about the gate, you know, you start off the season, you start, you know, you group up or whatever you do, and you start gathering your gear. You get your 6-piece, you know, it slingshots you into a higher, so you start getting more drops, and then you immediately go, okay, I got my 6-piece, but I also need gloves, I need boots, I need you know, I need the focus and restraint, or I need Traveler's Pledge, Compass Rose, I need a weapon, I need the shield, I need this, this. And there's always one item every season that you cannot get. Jesus. I have not seen a Traveler's Pledge in 3 seasons. Jesus. So, with that said, I like the idea of target farming. Because currently, okay, you can get blood shards and you can take them to Kadala. But I mean, come on, it's like buying a lottery ticket. Really? Okay, you might win, but
You have better chances with the upgrading if you could afford the mats.
Yeah, but it's okay. It's a system. I do like it. I don't hate her, but it's like, come on, Kadala, just give me my shield. And she finally did, but I like the idea that there's a content that might be maybe a little more difficult, and I could go do it. And this is the planet where you could get shields or offhands, or this is the where you can get like set pieces from this place. You know, maybe you need a pair of gloves, set piece gloves or something. You just can't find gloves. You could go over here and maybe get these gloves, or or whatever. This is the weapon place, or whatever. I like that targeted farming type because and maybe after you get all the gear, maybe that's a null and void system after that. But I don't know, not really, because for example, this season Shazam's got really good gear. But he's looking for a Primals Carly's Point, right?
Yep.
Oh God, I feel your pain. There was a couple seasons ago. I was rolling Demon Hunter. I rolled 3 Primal Greenstone fans. Never got a Primal Carly's. I'm like, screw this game. Screw it. So I feel your pain wholeheartedly.
Since Shazam has really good gear, really good augments, he's really pushing high on the boards. He's doing really good things. He's got pretty good Paragon. It would be awesome if he could go do a targeted farm for weapons only.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he's not. I'm not saying he's guaranteed to get a Primal Carly Point, but he's guaranteed to get a weapon. And maybe it's ancient. Maybe it's maybe the gear you get's ancient. No, that's still all a random thing, right? Maybe it's Primal. Maybe it's ancient. Maybe it's non-ancient. Maybe it doesn't roll what you want, so you keep going back. I like the targeted farming. Is I like that. I like a lot of these other systems that you have tied in here, and we can kind of touch on some of this, like the infusion of the ancients, right? Infusion of primals. I kind of like some of this stuff. These are great ideas.
I mean, the infusion of the ancients and infusion of the primals. I mean, they're not new ideas. I mean, it's what people may have wanted primals to have been, and then I just extrapolated it to ancients. It's basically because it boils down to the greater philosophy, which again is my opinion, that I placed on gear, and then the larger philosophy of like, what is Diablo 3? Diablo 3 is a gear grinding game, but do we want it to be a grind, or do we want to build our gear? Do we just want it to be a useless, meaningless grind, and then we get a momentary satisfaction when we see a primal red beam? Which I think the primal red beam is the stupidest thing in the world, because it goes against, okay, fine, there's a primal beam, where's the ancient beam? And then it's like, okay, it's a primal, but it could still roll shit, so it could still be a bad item. So it's like, okay, you're letting people know it's a primal before they identify it. So what's the point of having to identify it if you already know it's a primal? Like, there's so many weird, nuancy, meaningless, probably philosophies in there, but that's besides the point. I mean, so for those who don't know, haven't read the document, the infusion of the ancients and primals basically sound exactly what you may think they are. You take a base item as it is, and for the infusion of ancients, you just increase it 10% value-wise up to 3 times. So it would be like a regular ancient. Or the infusion of primals is exactly what it is. It bumps it up by 30% and maxes out the affixes, the primary, secondary, and the legendary power on it. But you still need to find that good base item. So you still need to find a Carly's Point with 10%, with at least damage, at least attack speed, at maybe even area damage, or be able to roll area damage on it with a good secondary. And then you can use an infusion of primals on there. Now, in this current iteration of the game, that's relatively easy if you want to do it. But who says in the version next that the system would theoretically be in? That's, you don't get too many drops, but when you do, they matter more. And that's kind of the whole point, because even though I have very strong opinions on what I say our red t-shirt guy did at BlizzCon when he asked that April Fool's joke question, when he talked to Lord Fluffy and they did an interview for about 30 minutes, it seemed like a lot of his gripes were he actually didn't mind Diablo 3 that much, but it seemed like a lot of his gripes boiled down to the sense of constant progression, or at least the feeling of progression just dies in Diablo 3 past the first weekend or week or 2 weeks. After that, you're just clamoring for that 1% upgrade. So his big deal is like, I want to feel like I upgraded. I want to feel like I got a 5% or a 10% upgrade. And you know what? That is a very valid, a very fundamental thing to have there. So if you strip away the RNG of if it's going to be ancient or primal, and you put that on a higher tier item available in a higher part of the game that you have to reach before you could even do such a thing to your lower level gear. But once, like, if I got like a Death Wish that's pretty good and has the right things, and I use an infusion of the Ancients, it's instantly 10% better, and then it's 10% more better, and then 10% more better. That's a huge feeling. And if you're doing that to pieces of gear all over the place, you're gonna feel that. You're gonna have that hook, and that's why I made those items along with the other items in there that do that.
Nice. Hey Shazam, is there? I know you were going over the document. Is there anything else in the document that you just got to talk about?
No, not really. I don't want to make this thing go like 3 hours.
We are a little. It's okay. This one's going to be a little longer show, which is fine. I don't care. I didn't want to go exactly word for word over the whole document. It was my point. I just one thing I have to talk about, and I mean I have to talk about, is clan and community improvement. I know we're kind of jumping around a little bit if you're going over the document with us.
What did I do for that section? I have to remember.
Before we get into that, one thing I really wanted to talk about, it's something I absolutely love. One of the systems I love in the game, Kanai's Cube. I think it really gave us a great improvement for the game. Although I thought that there were going to be like these secret recipes that they were going to sprinkle in the game, and then you could find them. But it turned out that they just were like, here's the system. And so I want to talk about that too, but I want to go down to the clan and community improvement, because if you've heard me talk about clans and all that stuff, it's I don't like the clan system currently. It just isn't. I mean, it's basically a chat system.
More or less.
The only real reason to be in a clan for me is so that I can, like, if I'm playing with you, I like to be in your community or your clan so that I can see what gear you got. Like if we're playing together.
It's the envy system.
No, I didn't even use it for that. Like, okay, let's say I power level you, or we're playing together and we're both like running wizards or whatever, or crusaders or whatever we're playing. And the thing about the clan system is, if I'm running with you, I see what you got, and you can see what I got, and I could say, hey, check that shield out, man. Is that good for you? That kind of thing. I really think the strongest proportion of Diablo is going to be our community. I know you had a thing in the clan community proportion where, like, the clan leader or people in the clan could run a rift, and then they could put it into the community section and say, hey, I beat this rift in 10 minutes. Who can beat my time, or whatever, and you could do like a whole leaderboard for that, which is cool. But I really believe they need a massive, massive upgrade clan and community. I kind of want to get your thoughts on current iteration and what in the heck could they do to make this clan and community section better, because it's basically a glorified chat channel.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'll try. I mean, I'll try to recap what I did, and I'll try to go a little bit more above and beyond. I'll try to keep it short. I mean, first things first, make clans bigger. I mean, we have to. I mean, granted, when Diablo 3 came out, let alone Reaper Souls 2 years later, Twitch was getting there. It wasn't big, but it was getting there. It was close. I mean, you have people like Riker and Bloodshed and Big Daddy Dan, who I think are like the top 3 pillars of the streaming community. Maybe 1 or 2 others you can throw in there, especially taking into consideration I don't follow too many of the Euro people, but at least those 3 I think are like, if 1 or 2 of them leave, like, we are screwed from the streaming community side, as far as like having a presence at all. So, and each one of them could draw a crowd of 300, 400, 500, depending on what's happening. Let alone if we're going to have a PTR that has any form of I won't say massive changes, but like actual, credible, tangible changes or updates or additions, their viewer count could easily be 600, 700, 800, maybe even 1,000, especially with Bloodshed, I've noticed. So it's ludicrous to limit clans to 150, because what are you going to do? They're gonna limit their clans, if they have one, to the supporters. It's like you're actively saying, no. Like, what's the justification? Database storage? Get more storage. You're Blizzard. You're not an indie company. That is a statement I have said a couple of times for a couple of reasons. It's like, you're a AAA company, act like it. So that's the first thing I say in the document. And then, your typical WoW style calendar, it lists all the official stuff. So, when a season starts, when a season ends, when there's maintenance. Yeah. But then also allow officers or clan leaders to put in custom events, so you can actually organize stuff so people see that the clan is active. Let me be able to interact with the clan. Let a clan that's supposed to be a social element of the game actually be sociable. What a concept. And then, as you brought up, the whole running a rift thing. So this is an element where it's like, yes, it's called a temporal rift keystone. It is a bought item from the in-game store I bring up, and I give a whole bunch of rules and regulations and philosophies and moral debates for the store. But we're not going to talk about that, because that's for your own home reading. That's your homework, audience. But yeah, it's like you buy this temporal rift keystone. If the clan leader says, hey, I did this like 45 in 10 minutes, let's see who gets rank 1 by the end of the week, and I'll give you like a Battle.net gift card for $20. Or if it's a Twitch streamer, they go to their community and be like, okay, this is a really good rift. It has a really good layout and mobs. I saved it. I want to see what you guys can do with your characters. Whoever reaches rank number 1, I'll give you an MVP badge. And it's like, again, it's the sociability aspect of the clan, but now you're allowing them to go beyond the game into their communities on Twitch. Again, makes something sociable. A lot of these ideas are actually based around Twitch and streamers, and giving more tools to those influencers and those people to allow them to do what they need to do to survive day to day. Because if it's going to be just this clan, just this general chat box, it really doesn't mean all that much. Yeah, you have the item scroll when people get stuff, but you could put that technology into party chat So at least the people you're partying with, you see what they're getting, so you could at least get that stuff. You can't get anything from people in the clan if they got it, because you can't trade with them. So it's almost so that's why I called it the envy scroll, because you're like, oh, that motherfucker got a primal death wish, and I'm still stuck here with my non-ancient. Fuck that guy. So
Yeah, it's
so that's where a bulk of these things go. I mean, and then also like, what could they do in the future? I think the future of social elements is exactly that. Whether you like social media or not, whether you like Twitch or not, I think that's where it's headed. So ideas that rotate around either integrating Twitch for fun events, like how other games have. I know there's a Warhammer game. I think I want to say Renegade, but I may be wrong completely. Where it's like, give the streamer a health potion or give him a big nasty boss to deal with, and everyone picks the big nasty boss because we're all masochists and we want to see the streamer die constantly. But it's like stuff like that, and then there's elements of integrating, like just making the game more integrated with the Twitch itself. So if the streamer's like, hey, this is like my top donator, I want to be able to give him something directly in game through a BattleNet login connection, which is already integrated into Twitch. So they just have to make the API for it and have something of value that the streamer can buy and give away that's not power creep. And just do it. I mean, I think that's where the future is. I think that's where you get the most bang for your buck development wise, and get the maximum profit from your community. And like, yeah, you can take some elements of Diablo 2, like, you know, keep the characters at the bottom, maybe have a lobby system where you have, you know, I create a game for trading, or I create a game for doing bounties that's actually doing bounties and not just standing in town, or doing greater rifts and not someone saying, hey, oh, I don't have keys, I'm going to do a regular rift. It's screwing it up for everybody else. So I think that's where the future of the social aspects is and needs to be at minimum for it to be considered a actual community-based system.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to say, I know you were saying, like, you know, your guild leader or your clan leader could, but I would say open that for any individual in the clan, because, you know, maybe Shazam isn't a guild leader, but Shazam is smoking. He is smoking a 110, you know, and he could put that 110 up and go, ha, see if you fools can beat this. It'd just be a bragging rights, like, you know, just build the community. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it could totally be done. It would just be a matter of, I guess, permission set in the settings.
Yeah. That's something that you could do. I'm just saying, like, I just don't like the current clan thing. I've said it a bunch of times. I've said it on the show a bunch. It's almost like they had this great idea that they were going to have clans, they were going to build communities, they were going to do all this stuff, and then the budget got cut, or they ran out of time and was like, put it in anyway. And I don't even think the game even started with clans, if I remember correctly. Am I misremembering that? Did they add that later? Am I misremembering?
No, it did start with clans and community, because I had a fan site at the time, and since we were part of the influencers and everything, we were given advanced creation opportunity for a clan for the website if we wanted to. So at the time it was Grind EXP, so I was able to come up with a clan name and was able to get it in, because they wanted to make sure the influencers, the podcasters, the websites were able to have that someone didn't like stealth their clan. So you have someone, you have some Joe Schmo running around with like Leviathan's clan, and Leviathan would have this like weird janky thing. But yes, to answer your question, they were in at launch. I remember that.
My point is, it does not feel like a completed system that Blizzard. It doesn't feel like a Blizzard level quality completed system. It just doesn't. Not to me.
Yeah, I would tend to agree more with that statement than not. Like I've said, like an hour and a half ago, a couple of times, there are unfortunately, in my opinion, too many systems that feel like they're halfway done, or they were good for the time but would never circle back to, and they need that circling back to.
Yeah. Okay. One last thing from me, and then I'll let you do one last thing. And Shazam's already said that, we've gone over stuff. And it's fine. But one thing I wanted to talk about was, like I mentioned a few seconds ago, was the Kanias Cube, and I'm really liking, because to me that's one of my favorite. I couldn't believe that they were going to let us get a cube. This was like back in the day, like a Roderick cube. It had this tremendous power. And I love the way that they set it up, where Zoltan Kuhl, he's building this thing, and he I love the story behind it. I like the whole Kanai's, they named it after King Kanai. Everybody knows that story, I'm sure. If you don't, go listen to Jen's Lore, her last episode, Jen's Lore Corner, bookofjen.net. If my brain. Anyway, you can go to bookofjen.net and listen to that. She talks all about it. She does a whole little corner on it. Phenomenal story. Unfortunately, the guy passed away, so they named the cube after him. One of my favorite things of Reaper of Souls. And I really was excited about, especially the augments. I love the fact that you can take a yellow and upgrade it to a legendary, or you can take a set piece. If you're having bad luck, you can't get gloves. Maybe you get 2 or 3 pairs of shoulders. You can turn shoulders and try to turn them into gloves. Those kind of things. I love the recipes. And man, you really dug into this. And I wanted to go. This was like my last thing for this document. And let me say real quick before we do go into this. There is a ton of stuff we are not talking about today, so please go read.
Yes, there is.
This is barely scratching this document.
We covered maybe about a third.
I know that we're an hour and 2 hours into the show, and I know we're normally an hour long show, so I apologize about that. But I really thought it to be important to go into this and just touch some of the great things that are in this document. And I wanted to talk about Kanias Cube. This is my last thing. So if you want to go into the Kanias Cube upgrade and just kind of touch some of the systems real quick.
Yeah, I mean, I added 3 additional Kanias Cube recipes, and I wanted to be careful because Kanias Cube right now is a powerful tool, but it's kind of a catch-all. Because if you to really analyze all the recipes that are in there, more than half of them just deal with gear in some way, form, or fashion. It's like there's 3 recipes that deal with transmuting one material into another one. But why are you doing that? Most likely because you need whites, because you ran through all your whites and you need to upgrade more rares, or you're trying to get a primal with the bounty materials, or you're just trying to get that 6th piece of gear with the set transfer. So a lot of Kanias Cube deals with armor, and I wanted to be careful not to add more things that dealt with it, or at least if it was a higher tier of recipe, if that makes sense. So the first recipe dealt with augments, and it dealt with now granted, I'm mentioning it's gonna sound it's gonna be like a vacuum thing. It's gonna sound like terrible, but you have to read the section because then it all makes sense. And this is the Paragon section for reference for you audio listeners. But the first recipe is basically speed leveling gems. Like we're at the point where we can do 100s and 110s. Leveling augments is a freaking slog. It takes forever, and there comes a point where okay, you're doing a grind, the grind is there, and then you're doing a grind and it just sucks. So the speed leveling of gems is again, it's an effort in, effort out based solution. So what you do, what happens is there's the precursor to this is really that a new class of legendary gem I added, and it's for augmentation purposes only, and you get it through Kadala with blood shards. So you don't have to do the stupid dropping a gem on the ground, risking losing it if it's a high level gem, or if you're a hardcore player, you have to drop a gem to do a GR to get another gem, which basically means you have to risk your GR character just to get a gem, just to level it for augmenting. So again, this was the first system that I felt was really janky and has really bad loose ends on it. Because like, how could they introduce this and then think we're giving the player no means of getting gems for augmentation, and when we got into the 90s, 100s, 110s, let alone the high end players who are getting 130, 140 augmenting gems, a ways of getting those gems quickly, where it's not a slog. So this recipe, basically, you take the new gem, you take a Greater Rift key, because I felt, okay, if you're not going to run the Greater Rift to get the gem, you have to give up a key, a balance in materials versus what you get. And then, Forgotten Souls and DBs, whatever materials the developers felt was balanced, quote unquote. And then for every 10 levels of solo-based progression, not multiplayer, solo-based progression, you got a augmentation gem instantly with 5 levels per 10 levels of progression. So to make it easy, if you cleared a Greater Rift 100, you would be able to make a full round of level 50 augmentation gems right off the bat. And you could put that on your farming gear, and your farming gear would be more powerful, but it didn't suck away time from you having to set time away to do lower level GRs and not pushing. Like, let's put the focus where it needs to be. That's what that recipe was about. The second one was basically, again, harking back to the Chaldean Colosseum with charms versus talismans. And that's just basically a combination recipe, because people have also complained, what do we do with gems nowadays? Like, we have stacks of thousands, if not stacks of 5,000s by the end of a season. What do we do with these things? It's been a constant plaguing problem of this game for a while. So that's why talismans came in. So essentially what you would do is you would take a charm that you really liked, and as an example, I have a charm in there that it's like a rare hand of it, and then there's a magic hand of it, and each one of those focuses around either rare items or magic items or legendary items. And basically it is, when those charms are socketed into your gear, you auto pick up those pieces. But it's not through a pet that you pay for, or it's not through a pet that's just there. It's like, no, you have to at least put some thought into it. And it basically makes it like, okay, you're going to have to socket like 5 or 6 of these so you pick up everything automatically. So it's going to go in your farming gear. It's not something you can wear on your pushing gear. So that's also another level of thought. So with this Kanai's Cube recipe, you take a charm you want to go. You take 2 flawless royal gems of any type, and you kind of crush it all together. So you get the effect of the gem, and you get half the effect of each of the flawless royal gems. So if you want a full effect of, say, a royal, you put into royal emeralds. But to say, hey, you know what? I want some all resist and some dexterity for my demon hunter. So you use a diamond and an emerald, and you just use that with all your charms, and you put that in all your sockets. So you still get some of that dexterity, but you get some of that all resistance, and it's a higher tier version of gems. It's a sink for your gems because you're gonna go through them much more quickly. So the broken crown is actually much more important during the course of a season, and it just introduces a heck of a lot more customizability, so to speak, and it adds another level of gameplay. And then, quite simply, the last Kanai's Cube recipe, if you actually read the flavor description and who said it at the end, it's actually after bloodshed. It's actually shed inverted, and then of course the main ingredient is a token of blood. So that's what it is. So basically what that revolves around is you get a token of blood from the Pandemonium Gate. It's a rare drop, and what it does is you put that in with the normal recipe to reroll a legendary item, but what it's for is that you put it in with basically a primal item, and it keeps the primal class, but it rerolls the affixes. But you need that token of blood, which is a rare drop to begin with. So it's like the tippy top of Mount Everest as far as gear min-maxing. Like, it's something like you have, like, if I had a Death Wish and I'm playing Star Pact, so it has the attack speed, it has the damage, and it has a good secondary, but I need that area damage, but I can't give this one up. But you got another primal that's useless, but you're gonna take a chance on it. That's where this item comes in. That's the level of min-maxing you need to be at for this recipe to actually be functional. So this is like a min-maxer's recipe. It's really not suited for the common folk, so to speak. But it's still good to have because then it gives those people who want to grind, who want to put in the time, a way to further min-max their character. It gives them the option. And I think with a lot of what I want to do, what I did with this document, it's about giving the player the opportunity. Maybe not at the handout, but it gives them the opportunity. And I think that's what we need to do. So that's what this recipe was based around.
Yeah, I like great ideas. I love it. Like I said, I love the Kanai's Cube. And I think, like I said, I was kind of disappointed that they didn't have like these secret recipes stashed throughout the world. I kind of thought that's what it was going to be. You know, like you could, maybe if you ran some certain content and you killed a certain guy in a certain amount of time or something or other, you could get like a certain recipe for it, and then no one else would have it and you would have it, you know, kind of thing. Which they could implement that still. I thought maybe there was going to be these secret recipes like nobody knew about, and then maybe Leviathan or somebody finds out and puts it on Twitch, and then I know about it, you know, kind of thing. I think that kind of stuff would be cool.
Says otherwise.
Well, okay, I understand data mining. I understand that kind of ruins it. But, I understand that, but I mean, wouldn't it be cool to have like these secret?
Oh yeah,
you know
for
what
sure.
I mean? Like,
it would be awesome.
I just, like I said, I love the Kanai's Cube. It's one of my favorite part of the games. So I definitely couldn't do this document without talking about it. With that said, I'll ask Shazam: is there anything else in this thing that you have to talk about?
Harken back to the clan system. I know WoW does it, and Blizzard takes a lot of stuff that from all their other games and implements it to their other games and stuff like that. But okay, let's say clan rewards. There's 4 people that are in a group. They do a Greater Rift 100. That unlocks an achievement where you get a pet, or you get something in the game that says, "Hey, this clan has done a Greater Rift 100 as a clan." Yeah, so they have this pet, you know, as in WoW, like you did like Firelands or something, and you got this you got this sweet mount that was, you know, like a phoenix or whatever, and you could fly around on, and not everybody had it because not everybody did Firelands and stuff like that as a clan or guild. So that would be pretty awesome if they added that to Diablo, which you know, it's just adding more art to the game, which reskinning pets or, you know, anything like that, but that adds more collection and, you know, wings and stuff like that. Just adds more collecting that people would want to do. And then they would be like want to be in this clan versus that clan because this clan has it and, you know, the other clan doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's
I mean, I like that idea because again, it gives you goals that you can work towards. You know, we want to get that fire cat or whatever, you know, for the clan. So let's get people together. That could be utilized in the calendar. Like, hey, on Saturday at 9:00 Central, we're going to get in there and we're going to try to get that fire cat or whatever. But, you know, these are systems that you can tie together to make a stronger community, like what we were talking about before. I like your idea, man. That's you know, borrow from other places, you know, and put this kind of stuff in here because the most important thing about any Blizzard game, I don't care if you're playing Hearthstone or all the Heroes game or you know, Overwatch or whatever, WoW, Diablo, StarCraft, it doesn't matter what game you're playing. The most important part of all those games is the community. I mean, it just is. And without the community, would any of us still be playing Diablo 3? I don't think I would.
No. I mean, at this point, the game is living off of its community, and that's the frightening thing. It's like it's living off of its community, and some of the community has left. Some of it has gone to other places because they need to survive. Again, your streamers and your podcasters and influencers. Like it's not a decision that's made lightly or without thought. It's one made credibly like, this is my job. This is the age that we live in. I need to evaluate, and they've made a switch. I just hope that whatever comes next, they can easily switch back and be the same, if not better.
Yeah. All right. I'll ask Dreadscythe here. Is there anything else in this document that we did not go over that you absolutely 100% have to talk about?
I mean, we've pretty much talked about everything. If anything, I would say the stash tab section, the economic section. I mean, those two things I really wasn't planning on, but I made comments because economics is a funky place, and that section was like the best subjective opinionated I could be. Granted, I mean, I would feel the only other section I would say I really liked, but it gave me the biggest trouble, and like image wise, because a lot of the process to do this article is I either had really good images and then I was able to do the writing around those images, or I did the writing and then did the images, and then the images forced me to rewrite my sections. Like iteration, you know, that word we hear from the actual developers. It happened a lot. And that's what the skills section was. The skill select image, which is the last image in that section, that's the 5th version. There are 4 iterations and they're all completely different. The first version, I love it, but it makes no sense. The 3rd version, it's like close, but you can't tell what some of the elements are. So I had to kind of strip it down, make it easier to visually know, like, okay, this is your elemental focus. These are your 3 runes. It's very clear. It's very apparent. It's very focused. It's very readable. And even though it may not be the most flashiest thing, which I still have an image of because I still have all the past versions, It's what works, and that's what I learned a lot doing this document. It's like sometimes you just have to cut away the fat and just say, no, this is what works. Stop adding complexity, or sometimes you want to add complexity, but you're forcing it and it just makes things worse. So you have to take a step back, be humble, and just say, fine, this is what it is, and this is what's going to work. And that's what the skill section was. But I love the skill section because I feel it gets to the heart of what I feel is wrong with the game now. Everyone says, oh, sets are ruining the game because you have to build around them, or sets are the problem because of the crazy huge multipliers, or legendary items don't mean it. All those arguments around gear are completely secondary to the skills, because if each individual skill was more concentrated, and if there were fewer but better quality rune type options, that whether it's what the game has now or the system I implement, then you could have more build diversity from the ground up, from the class itself, rather than relying on the handicap of items. Because, a demon hunter, for example, multi-shot is useless unless you have the set or the lawn set to go with it. You drain your hatred too fast. Even more so with Impale. Impale is a useless skill because you can only do 2 or 3 before you run out of hatred. A wizard, a Tal's wizard, okay, that's great and all, but if we don't have the buff or the shielding, you sink like a rock. And there's plenty of examples that if you don't have the set, the skills are crap. And that's where the problem is. The skills that we have now were built for a balance system when it was still vanilla. That's why we have balance by item philosophy. That's why we have sets. That's why we have all these things, because it is just flat out easier for the developers to balance the classes through gear rather than having to constantly tweak the skills. And the skills are still back in the prehistoric days of Diablo 3 vanilla. So in the next iteration of the game, we have to concentrate what each skill means, concentrate the variance of it, and make each skill worth it to be part of that class. And if it's average or meh, get rid of it or fix it. So that's why anything that's in the game as far as runes or elemental focuses or armor or sets, which is a completely different thing, and I'm not going to go into it, or anything else, whether it's in my document or not, amplifies the skills rather than the skills amplifying the other way around. What we have right now is a very backwards building of a class. Right now, it's like, oh, I want to be a multi-shot demon hunter for forming bounties, so I just need my set. I just need this. I need this. I need this, and then I just set my skills to this. There's more emphasis on the gear than there is on the skills. The next iteration of the game has to be an emphasis on the skills, and then focusing around finding gear that complements those skills. But that's also very hard, and that's what I try to at least start with the skill select section.
Well, like I said, we didn't touch everything in this document. So if you're listening, if you're watching on YouTube or Twitch or whatever, we're going to put the link again in the community section of our Discord. I'm sure there's other ways to find this, and I'm sure, Tread, you could say that here in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
But do yourself a favor, because this honestly blew me away, because the quality of the document, you could tell that you sat down, you talked to people, you got ideas from the community, you could tell you worked a lot on it. The quality of the document is very high. I mean, even you got images, the writing is very good. I immensely enjoyed that document. It's one of the reasons why I want to have you on the show, just to kind of go over some of the ideas. I love ideas about the game. I love thinking about the game. I love like when I have a build and it challenges me, oh, I'm going to put these gloves on because it buffs this, and of course everything's kind of like a cookie cutter type situation now, where you go to YouTube or I don't know where we're going to go anymore to find builds, but I like ideas. Like I was saying before, we had a session where we were talking about seasonal themes, that kind of thing. It was a lot of fun. So reading your document, I had a lot of fun, and I wanted to thank you because it's very well put together. And really, if you're listening to this, please go check it out. This guy put a lot of work. Even if you don't like every idea, or if you don't like any of the ideas, or maybe it'll get your brain going, and maybe you'll start thinking, I don't like this, blah blah blah, but this is something they could do. So this is like a conversation starter to me. I want to congratulate you on your effort, on your progress of the document. And
thank you.
Is there anybody you want to give a shout out to? Because what I was gonna do was I was gonna do the document, and then I was gonna do the regular show stuff. But we went way. This is a long show. And I'll apologize to our editors. I know they're normally like about an hour show. So
sorry.
But I thought it was something really important to do. Because like I said, I like the document so much, and I like your effort, and I really appreciate it as a community member. It's not like you got paid to do this document. Well, maybe you got paid, but I don't know. Anyway.
No, man.
It's not like
if I could have got a good hourly wage for this shit. Oh God, man. I could have had a much better Christmas.
Just for somebody to do this out of like a passion project, man, phenomenal. Anyway, I'll let you, give any shout outs you want, and just say goodbye to our community, because I'm not going to do like the weeks or whatever we normally do with hey, what else have you been doing outside the game? Because we're just going to say goodbye and close the show because it's been a little long. So I'll let you, any shout outs to any people or any.
I mean,
anybody.
I think if I had to do a general shout outs, just the Diablo 3 community in general. I mean, we are a small, tight-knit community. We are rambunctious. We are ravenous. We can be borderline insane, but we know what we want, and we fight for it. We still have the same vigor in us that we did when Diablo 3 was launching. There may not be nearly as many of us, but we still have that same attitude, and we need to carry that forward, because when Diablo 4 comes out, there's going to be a whole new group of people coming in, and we need to set an example. In the document, I have a whole epilogue, like a page and a half epilogue, and where I just thank a whole bunch of people. There's two other big, compared to my document, they're small, but they're still big in their own respects, concept ideas. And I put links to them in there. Ninebull and Leviathan, I think that separately, because they got me to Blizz Pro when I was quitting my third and last fan site, and that's what kept me playing Diablo 3 in general. So if it wasn't for them getting me the Blizz Pro, I probably would have just faded, and I wouldn't be where I am today in the community. And then again, my brothers in arms, Nine, Shepherd, and Lionsword. You actually see their names pop up in a couple of the different images. I got their permissions, but I wanted to make sure they were immortalized in here a couple of times, because literally over the last couple of years, some of these ideas I've spouted off, and we've kind of bounced back and forth with these ideas and concepts, and we've talked 3 hours about this. I've talked about some of these aspects with them for years. So
yeah.
If you think this episode got dry and boring towards the end with me talking, try listening to it a couple of times over the last couple of years. So they were troopers. I wanted to thank them especially. But last and not least, seriously, the Diablo 3 community team, God, what they have to deal with, especially after BlizzCon, and what any fair-minded person knows is going to happen you know, when this is announced or this is done or this is shown or this Twitter thing is done. It's like they put up with so much, and it's their job, and they love what they do. They honestly do. And it's not a Blizzard fanboy moment. It's like it's a human thing. It's like they generally love what they're doing, and they're doing the best they can with what they have. And yeah, other people can make comments about that, but it's like it's not the point. They do what they do because they love it, and we can't be railing against them because they are our middleman to the developers. Because if we lose them, or if they leave because they feel they're not doing their job and we get new people, they could easily just kind of cut the community off, and then the pathway to the development team is just kind of lost. So we have to evaluate and appreciate them and know and say that they matter. And I wanted to make sure that the community team knew they mattered. And then an order of magnitude above that, somehow, some way, is just thanking the development team, because I've had many, many hours of treasured, as I say, exactly, treasured hours of conversations with people like Travis Day, like John Yang, like Don Vu, Josh Mascara. Never got to meet Jay Wilson. I wish I could, because I think like a few people at Blues Pro, would buy him a drink just for the shit that he took on. Like, he probably didn't have to, but it saved a heck of a lot of people in the development team from getting that anger. And I think he did what he felt he needed to do, which was misdirect people's anger. I think he knew he had to do that, or I think he felt he had to do that. And I think it saved a lot of the development team from leaving at the end of the day, because they didn't have to deal with the pressures of a community that was basically gunning to kill them at that point. And last but not least is also Wyatt Chang. I mean, the godfather of storytime with Wyatt at BlizzCon. I mean, those things are always awesome, and I hope, even if I'm not at BlizzCon this year, that somehow, some way, it returns, and maybe someone will sneak me a bootleg recording. Because that's rule number one of Storytime. If you figure out where it is, you're not allowed to record it. Not because secret stuff is out there. It's just meant to be a small thing for the community to enjoy. And we've stated that before. It's been mentioned. But, I mean, this whole document was made for the community in every aspect of the community, from the developers to the new blood coming in. I mean, that's where the focus was, and that's where the heart was.
Well, all right, sir. Whew, what a document that is, man. I immensely enjoyed it. And at this point, I'm gonna let Shazam say anything he wants to say about that, and then say goodbye to the community, and then I will say goodbye to the community and close our show.
I appreciate you coming on, Dread, and appreciate being part of your clan.
I don't know. It may wind up being my clan. I don't know. I have to talk to Eyeball about that.
Well, the same clan. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't matter who's in charge.
Yeah. It really doesn't.
Anyway, yeah, appreciate you coming on, and hopefully we'll have you back. It's always nice to see somebody other than the three main people on. Well, now three main people. It used to be two or one.
Would have any reservations about that, in due time.
Yeah. But hopefully see you back, and to the people listening, I'm sure I'll see you guys all next week, and you guys all have a good one.
All right. To our community, I know this is a long show. To our editors, sorry, but I thought this was an important thing. To Dread, thank you so much for coming on and doing letting us use your content, going over it with us. Man, I think you're a super cool dude, and I really hope that you continue the work you're doing. I really enjoy it, and just my hat's off to you, sir. And with that, You've been listening to episode 203 of the Shattered Soulstone, your Diablo community podcast. Missed an episode? I don't know why, but you can find the show blog and listen to the show archives at www.shatteredsoulstone.com. With your support, you can help the show grow. Become a Patreon at patreon.com/soulstone. Join us in-game. Our in-game community and clan, both named Shattered Soulstone, are open to anyone who would like to join. You can join us on Discord. Don't know why you wouldn't. For the ultimate teaming community-based experience, find the Discord invitation link on Twitter, Facebook, and as well as our Shattered Soulstone website. The show is powered by you, the listener. Send your contributions, thoughts, questions, and feedback to show@shatteredsoulstone.com. Yeah, send us email and money. We like both. We love Twitter. Come join and tweet with us. You can find the show Twitter at Shattered Soulstone. You can find Vesperio at Vesperio1189. You can find me, Degreed, at Degreed1812. I'm sure Dread's got a Twitter.
Mm-hmm. It's at Dreadscythe.
Very
easy.
You can find the show Facebook page at facebook.com Shattered Soulstone and Vesperio at facebook.com Vesperio1189. We'd like to extend a huge thank you to Metros of Dawnforge Productions for hosting our Loot Deviant show. You can find more shows from Dawnforge at www.dawnforge.com. Thank you for listening. Until next time, from all of us here at Shattered Soulstone, over 202 or 202 episodes for your listening pleasure. Dawnforge. Yeah. All right, guys. Let's close all this stuff down. Woohoo! What a great show. Jesus, that's going to be an awesome show right there. Woohoo!
It's like, I know we joked 3 hours, but yeah, I had a feeling 3 hours.
Yeah, it is what it is. You know, I'm sure my editor's not going to be extremely happy about that, but
I want to make a motion like, how much money do I owe you for the show now because of all the talking?
You know, we got our weekly show.
I will say this. Here's a little behind the scenes bonus material that's not in the document, but I thought of after the document. No.